I'm Conor McGraw.
Did you get
back with the bang? Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell that our souls are all intact? None of us are dying on the inside at all. No.
No. I haven't had particular, but who cares? Yeah, we're gonna talk about news, and a lot of it is probably gonna be possibly controversial. I don't know.
We'll see.
There's no divisive topics in this.
There's gonna be a fight. There's gonna be a fight tonight, and you're gonna all hear it.
Some of us are drinking, so there might be a fight.
Yeah, some of us are drinking. Well, some of us are drinking, so it might actually be very mellow. It might actually just smooth it all over. The Rotten Tomatoes incident wouldn't have happened if we had all just had beers.
We're gonna start with announcing which side of the race we're that we're gonna be. I'm kidding.
And this week, back without his chaotic other half is our friend Izza.
Hey, what's up? My mouth is really hot.
Who else is here? Come on, somebody.
Arlen Harrow here as usual, alive. Just to point that out, I am here.
We're here and not alive.
It's
slightly worried.
It's Phantom Zone's resident Ent, Hunter Davenport.
We forgot where they are. I'm Erik Fedorchak, and with Iz's earlier comment about the coming race war, I want to be on whichever side Joe Biden decides I'm allowed to be on.
And I have Joe Biden quietly enter a stab yourself in the stomach on stage contest and just didn't tell anybody about it.
In some ways I think I kind of understand what he was trying to say, but man, did he go about it the wrong way. He picked the wrong venue and the wrong way to say it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the end of Phantom Zone politics.
What was that?
If somebody black said that, people still wouldn't respond well. So him saying it, woo.
Yeah.
Last week we were like, hey, remember that time that Vince dropped the N-word? Was it rich old white men who are like, yeah, I can be down with the black folk?
They really get excited about trying to be down with black people, old white dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, does Joe Biden not know who Charlamagne Jagat is? Does he not know?
No, I doubt it.
He definitely does not.
How did
Zamero and I know he didn't know who the fuck they were before that.
Someone probably said we have an interview with Charlamagne, and he was like, "My God, he's dead."
He's like, "You brought back a man who's been dead for 1,200 years?
Yeah, Mummy Jack."
You brought back the founder of Europe? How did you do this?
I drink the fluid in which you would use to bring him back.
Oh, the mummy fluid. Yes.
Mummy fluid. Yes.
Yeah, the mummy juice. I demand to drink it.
Yeah, that's what caused COVID.
Oh my God.
It's already a great show.
Mm-hmm.
We have a bunch of movie and TV related stuff to talk about, not having to do with politics. Because that's objectively the worst topic to talk about right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's fun though.
But in delightful news that could maybe come with some cosmic consequences, New Mutants has a release date, and I'm wondering if hell has frozen over yet.
No, it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't.
It'll be delayed again.
Hey, listen, you say that, but you say that, but the Snyder Cut's going to be released also. So.
Yeah, more on that in a little bit.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
We're so excited.
I just don't know why Disney hasn't been all right, here it's on streaming. It's like we've discussed before. There has to be something that connects.
No. I heard a long time ago that there was going to be mild MCU connections that were peppered throughout the movie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
I heard that they had sort of re-edited it and did some stuff.
Here's the thing. I think putting it in theaters now, if it doesn't have that shit, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At this point, the desire to see it is just kind of outweighing any other creative decisions around it. So,
from my point of view, there's the X-Men movies. Some of the X-Men movies are like some are bad, but like overall, if this is the last one, just have a nice send off or something, you know?
Yeah.
Even if the X-Men aren't in it, it's like the new.
I think it's also because
Mhm.
because it was so fresh, in comparison to the mainline X-Men films. People were like, "Yes, please branch off and do something new." It got delayed. It got delayed, and then it got delayed, and then it got delayed.
Well, some of that I wonder too is because of the stink of Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
And that in Dark Phoenix was so poorly received. That probably, like, this being so far removed from it is probably a good thing.
My favorite punching bags.
Well, here's the thing. I watched, like, Arlen, you've seen the whole thing. I've watched, like, maybe a half hour of that movie, and I watched most of the ending because I was like, all right, what's this like? What's this about? I did not hate at all.
No, here's the thing.
Of what I saw.
I did watch it recently, and you know it's not bad, but the fact that
it's
they
the worst
remade,
way to end things.
The fact that they redid the whole thing and didn't change much is not great.
Also, like that train sequence is like kind of breathtaking, and the score is amazing, and some of the action is really, really cool. The problem is they're fighting people in civilian clothes who just like nebulously regenerate. I'm like, you're fighting a bunch of people who look like they walked out of an office. I don't give a fuck about this.
I'll say this. I'd rather watch that than X3.
Yes.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of
like,
parts of it that are great.
And Jean's final rampage against whatever the fuck those aliens are is awesome.
It's so good. But it has all the problems that every X-Men movie has. Like all of the things that plague all the other X-Men movies. They're all there.
And there, even in the short bit of what I saw, there was some stupid shit like Nightcrawler getting really, 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 really homicidally upset over a man getting killed that he just met. It's like, no more death! And then he starts like teleport violencing everybody around him. Like,
he didn't do much in the last one, so they gotta do something.
It always made him seem like timid, like he didn't enjoy being violent.
I mean, let's be honest, they didn't really do much with any of the extra X-Men that they had in the last movie.
No, and they had the coolest ones.
Yeah, they did, arguably. But
I mean, they had a crop of really cool mutants in First Class, and they managed to kill the coolest one first.
Yeah, they did.
They managed to kill the one who is...
Yeah,
they managed to kill the one who is so unkillable that when faced against, what was it, Hela, he just became the new god of death because that's how his mutant power works.
Yep.
And he's just virtually unkillable. I think, and also like his ability is like faced against like the Hulk, he doesn't become stronger, he just becomes faster.
Yeah, he
like he has no control over it. It's entirely situational, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I thought when he fought the Hulk, I'm basing this off of things I barely remember. I thought it was something that like he made his body turned into something that like when the Hulk punched him, he was launched however far away so he could get away. But maybe I'm incorrect.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was some kind of evasive maneuver. Like he would survive the punch, but be so far away, it's not like the Hulk would chase him.
Yeah,
something along those lines. Where
Hulk would get tired.
Hulk tired. Hulk no chase.
Hulk go sleep.
Upstairs.
He takes he takes part of a building and covers himself with it.
They also made a point to put Azazel in First Class, which is kind of cool, but they didn't like explain any of the connection with.
No,
they glossed over the fact that he looks like and has the same powers as Nightcrawler, and they don't talk about it at all.
Also, he doesn't say anything. The only mention of it afterwards is like there's a moment where Jennifer Lawrence cries looking at his picture, and I guess that was supposed to indicate something.
He's dead. They killed him off screen.
You know what would help though if he said anything.
If there was any indication that they liked each other, even that they had.
If he was a character, not just a function.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are asking too much out of a movie that probably.
Where someone at Marvel vs. Capcom is like, "What? That's not a problem. They're just functional, all right? Deal with it."
Here's the thing: Lauren Schuler Donner was part of that production, and as we all know, she's the original Sandwich Lady. And she had opinions about how things were supposed to go.
Old over here.
She's also the woman who has a fetish for men in suits. That was one of her big things when she was working at USA when the WE was on there. Is that everyone must be in suit all the time, even when they're in the ring working, like maybe an angle but not really a match. Like people are brawling in these like 3-piece suits, and like an episode of Raw where Kurt Angle is sweating through 3 layers of clothing because he's supposed to be in a suit at all times.
I remember this era. It's very close to my favorite moment in all of WWE history.
When Mabel gave birth to a hand?
No.
When the rock bottom British Bulldog on some dog shit?
Close. When Randy Orton met Stephanie McMahon's face with his tongue.
Like one of the most rapey things a company's ever done.
Yeah. They've done a lot in WWE.
Let's be honest.
So many. Yeah. But that moment in particular, real classy. Real classy. Right
it doesn't touch the Katie Vick angle, but
No, nothing does.
Remember when I don't know if it was like Michelle McCool or somebody else, but it was a woman who was like blonde. She was like, her gimmick was like she was like someone's manager. It was kind of like a secretary. Maybe JBL, and like the boogeyman bit off her mole that was on her face.
That was Jillian Hall.
What? Jillian Hall. Wow. I'm talking about her here.
I was like, wait, did they make this woman wear a fake mole for like fucking months?
And They put a giant, weird Halloween prosthetic on her face for like 8 months, then had a guy who can't wrestle, is all gimmick, with no front teeth, bit it off, and then she was just fine. There was no scarring.
That's the long game right there.
The boogeyman was like 50 when he was doing that too.
And it's funny because I remember looking it up one time, and other wrestlers were saying that he's actually creepy behind the scenes. Like he's not just like
that dude's fucking crazy.
Before we get back to New Mutants, Cornette tells a story about how like when he first showed up for his boogeyman stuff, like he had like 17 extra props that all fell apart the moment he debuted because he couldn't get in the ring, and as soon as he tried, everything fell off of him.
That's the curse.
New Mutants. So here's the thing. I wish we had more to say about this fucking movie, but like we've seen 2 trailers and some pictures, and that's all we fucking got.
Yeah.
We don't need to see the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
that'd be nice.
I want to see it when it comes out, but I don't know.
What they have shown, though, I will say looks great.
I thought it looked interesting. It looked cool, but
smiling men they've introduced in pictures are fucking terrifying, and I can't wait to see those things in motion. It looks like the most interesting thing about it.
If you notice, those things are covered in very Russian-looking tattoos, so I think it's Alanya doing some sort of spell to fuck with people. Because like the one guy has like what looks like the Kremlin tattooed on his chest, and he also has the stars above it.
I do too, though.
What's that?
I got the Kremlin tattoo on my chest.
Shit, man, you went hard.
Damn. We're on the same. We work in the same block in Chernobyl, so.
Oh, okay. There we go.
I didn't know that.
Facebook group is the fucking best.
I didn't realize you had all the fealty to the Russian mafia tattoos all over your body. So okay, good.
Yeah, well, there's a lot you don't know about me. Me and Connor and that KGB days got into some dangerous shit, but we don't talk about.
We're both locked in. We live in Reactor 4 right now.
Yeah, I'm in a special sector that doesn't exist. And
you just spend most of your time thinking about Viggo Mortensen and his huge hog.
Get out of your stalker.
I do not work for the Bureau of Control, but go
ahead. But yeah, New Mutants on his release date, of which I don't know because it's not in front of me, but it's August, I think.
Yeah, it's like August 28th or something.
No one's gonna see it because we won't be over with COVID by then.
Yeah, no,
we won't.
No, this everything opening up is just gonna cause everything to spike again.
Movie theaters are
watch New Mutants on Fortnite, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
The bright side is hey, if all of us survive, we may be able to watch these movies in movie theaters without anyone else around.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
are you kidding me? Movie theaters are gonna die a fucking death. All right, like,
yeah.
No, we just break in and just fucking steal a copy, and it's gonna be like the apocalypse.
They'll all be converted into Hobby Lobbies. All right, don't get optimistic.
Oh God. Well, no, they'll be converted into warehouses for Hobby to hold all their stolen relics from.
Spirit Halloweens.
We're gonna be like,
you know what?
Chopping to the waist with the fucking assault rifles and be like.
That's exactly what they'll be.
Yes.
I mean, or they'll be like closed down theaters around where I live, where you can go and take a motorcycle training course. So have fun doing that inside of malls and.
Dude, I can't wait for that.
Multiplexes near you.
It's like Mad Max, like a Mad Max movie, but it's Arlen, and he's like going through the wasteland as his badass, but he like finds a movie ticket in the phone, and he's like, no, I don't barely remember the old ways.
He dusts it off, and he slowly uses some adhesive and puts into Notebook.
Well, it's unripped, and I slowly start to rip it, and I just think about going back to the movies and being in the theater. The sound brings me back.
Like, is it spelled correctly? No, it isn't.
I'm just envisioning him making armor out of all the movie tickets he finds.
That's his fucking his patch on his shoulder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's got a bunch of spikes driven through it.
So
I'm using commemorative popcorn tins as my
as an axe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you repurpose a popcorn machine into a set of armor? Yes, I did. I also reinforced my bike with it.
This is a hot cheese gun.
we gotta make this a comic. Armin Howe is this badass in the wasteland. He's like the movie
man. The last critic alive.
I'm gonna fashion the train gaming hook. I'm gonna turn that into a weapon.
He just walks around like finding people at campfires and goes like, "You ever heard of a man named Columbo?"
Let me tell you, kids. He has 2 pistols, Cisco and Ebert.
So the next story I didn't even see, it hadn't come across my face until right now.
Yeah.
It's I don't know the name of the character. It's somebody from deeper, like I guess Rebels.
Hitman?
Well, everybody's assuming he's this character who takes over, or he steals Boba Fett's armor in old EU canon.
It was like an imposter.
Yeah, and I guess the story arc has real Boba Fett coming back and taking it back. So, yeah.
I'd read that the character that he might be playing is supposed to be the sheriff of some town in the Star Wars universe.
So just come back and do your Justified gimmick. That's all you got to do.
Pretty much.
Right.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I feel like he might just be some like entirely new character that we have no idea about.
I can't wait for him to be recast.
I think like there's obviously, here's the thing with Star Wars right now, especially internally, like everything coming out of the camp of Star Wars sounds like hysteria. And a lot of it could be bullshit, and even the more unbelievable things could be true.
If you don't think that Timothy Olyphant is Snoke, I don't want to talk to you.
Baby Snoke. Like the things I'm seeing that maybe have some credibility is that Dave Filoni got a huge promotion in the creative team. Which is why we see a lot of like Clone Wars characters and stuff like that, and stuff from the expanded canon getting like also promoted into like important stuff.
So that's why we actually see continuity going on now. Okay, cool. Got it.
It's almost like somebody involved knows what Star Wars is,
and they care.
Yeah.
Writing.
I cannot wait for Star Wars to finally be good.
Yeah, well, they've got to get that Force dick of George's out of the way. So yeah.
Honestly, I think it sounds like Kathleen Kennedy is just kind of being reduced to the point where she may be gone at some point. So she hired Harvey Weinstein's she hired former Schoolman's getting her own show at some point too. It's Harvey Weinstein's former assistant who's like a scriptwriter who's also now headlining her own show, and she's working directly under Kennedy. Apparently,
Harvey Weinstein, former assistant, Salacious Crumb.
Maybe.
Kathleen Kennedy is like, I don't like Ryan Johnson, and this woman just comes in like,
Connor, be careful, because there's an article that will tell you that she loves Ryan Johnson.
There's also an article that will tell you that she called him a man baby, so I don't know what the fuck to believe.
It's really confusing. It's as if Russia is running Star Wars and they're in charge of the misinformation campaign.
They might as well.
But yeah, the thing with Star Wars also is like there's talk of that. Who's the new CEO? What the fuck is that guy's name? It's a new Bob, isn't it? There's Bob and Bob.
It's
Doug Bowser.
Yeah, Bob.
Bob something, but he was Bob Iger's like enforcer. Like he was his, like he was the guy you send in to clean up messes.
Apparently, no disintegration.
Undertaker's music hits and this guy rolls up. No, I think it's Bob Chopek or something like that.
So I think that you nailed it. Actually, that's exactly
apparently like Chopek and Iger have been working to one. This is all stuff I've read. I can't confirm any, but one, get a full like Abrams cut of Rise of Skywalker out on Disney Plus by like 2022.
Who cares?
and like basically start reassembling like Star Wars canon so it's a little less of a mess and like not be so antagonistic towards its fan base.
Do new things with Star Wars. Make some new characters that are not connected to any of the fucking old shit.
Yep.
Also, maybe have your characters be characters, not just like Rey. Who are you? I'm Rey. That's great.
Right. Yeah. On the JJ cut thing, I don't believe that there's another alternate cut out there because my understanding is that
they make the Black and Latino characters actually have their own stories.
Oh yeah, and character arcs and full, inner lives. Yeah.
I hope it has more Babu Frick. That's all I want.
Like an actual
allegedly, what major thing is missing is apparently the climax was way different and had, I guess, more involvement from Luke Skywalker, had more of a lightsaber fight. I guess
right.
Ian McDiarmid was pissed because he got to do more with a lightsaber in this one. Apparently Daisy Ridley trained for 2 months for some sequence that Kathleen Kennedy tossed out the fucking window.
What a great exec.
Well, my understanding is that it was very like rushed, the entire production of this movie. And a lot of it just got cut because of time, not because of editorial. It was like, we have to film things as we're editing, and we have to get this in like at the last minute. Like they were working on the movie up until release.
The thing is, I don't care. Like,
you know what? Here's the thing, and regarding a different cut of a movie we're going to talk about in a little bit, like between the two of them, like I'd take Rise of Skywalker out back and shoot it in the head. I don't care.
I haven't even bothered to watch either because I don't care. Like
I can just forget about
Rise. I don't even need to watch.
Yeah, same. Like I can just pretend Rise of Skywalker never happened and move on with my life. So
thing is, like, I even like if I compare both movies as they were, like in Justice League felt, even if at the total mess it was, it felt like more of a finished product than Rise of Skywalker was, because Rise of Skywalker was like, here's the thing, it's gone. Move on to the next thing.
At least like people that even like liked Justice League or didn't like it, a lot of them said it was still kind of fun in some ways, even though it wasn't.
Yeah, like, there is objectively great stuff in the Justice League. The Flash and Cyborg stuff is great.
Too bad they ain't getting any movies.
There's stuff in it that has held up somewhat. There's stuff in it that's good. Also, like Justice League is going to have more bearing on movies that are yet to come out than Rise of Skywalker will.
We'll get to that.
Will it? And I don't know. Rise of Skywalker, like, it was. I don't care how much extra footage you have, apparently, for the ending of it. That doesn't make up for every other thing that was in that movie, which was just J.J. Abrams on the behind you in the theater going, "Hey, remember that? Hey, remember this? Hey, like that's all the movie was."
I mean, hey, listen, Rose.
That character died. I'm kidding. They're alive.
Yeah.
Y'all hate the Asian woman? Don't worry, we didn't give her any lines.
And to go back to what you said earlier about like how about we do something with new characters that aren't connected to all the old shit? It's almost like that second movie was actually letting you do that at the end of it. But you decided to just completely fuck that
then you overreacted to lots of people yelling about things, and you're like, let's do something so utterly safe and risk-free that it generates no emotional response. But anyway, Timothy Olyphant's gonna be the Mandalorian.
Hunter, what are you?
The internet told me The Last Jedi because a woman used space magic to fly through space. So
right,
I don't know.
That was weird for me, but that wasn't what ruined it for me. It was just like the writing in general, just a lot of the.
I don't know. I don't think women belong in space. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Remember that time that Luke Skywalker fell down a gigantic like garbage chute or something, like 400 feet, conveniently fell down a tiny hole and then rolled down another shaft, and fell through that thing and snapped his leg on a weather pane or something and died horribly. Wait, that didn't happen. He was fine the whole time.
No, but Connor, women don't belong in space. I don't know what's about that.
And young boys who haven't been trained can't use the Force. It's not how the Force
only
works.
Men.
Right. Yeah.
Not all men can use the Force.
Should be like a quarter crew. There should be a quarter. Needs to be a quarter crew edit of Luke falling through city, and when he hits that fucking like whatever it is, that antenna, his legs just pop off and he just falls to his death.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, on the Mandalorian, whatever Olyphant is doing, he fits the tone of what the show is, just based off of everything else he's ever done. Yes. He's a great fit. I don't see any problem with this.
Olyphant rules. I don't see any version of this that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So I don't care who he's playing. He's gonna be good.
Yeah, also, more Mandalorian so fast is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that show.
Yeah.
So, like, I saw. Have you guys seen how they filmed that show?
I've been watching.
I've heard that they used instead of green screen, they use like actual like images of the
yeah, but it's like a 4-dimensional projection that if you just stand against it, if you take a picture of it, it's seamless. And like, I didn't know that when I was watching the show, and for some, like, I'm like, oh, they're in a cave. They're not. They're never in a fucking cave. But I can't tell the fucking difference. And that's got to save so much time on flying around, being on location, CGI, blah 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 blah. Like, no wonder they got that show like season 2 out so fast, because like you don't have to go anywhere.
And it allows for consistency between what you're seeing CGI and in person, I guess.
And there's no lighting involved because the natural lighting fixes everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking wild.
I feel like this is what Alec Guinness would have enjoyed instead of the he hated the original Star Wars. And probably filming it was probably annoying with all the fake like green screen or whatever the fuck they used back in those days. The 70s.
And I'm sure like people who filmed the prequels were like, why couldn't we have that fucking thing? Because like, at least you can see it and have like some kind of emotional connection to it. You're like, that's a rock. I can tell you what it is. I can tell you the texture of it.
It's
like
somewhere Ian McKellen is just very mad, just very.
It's because I needed to have Obi-Wan's good friend who runs a space diner show up, and the only way to realistically do that.
Okay, here's the thing. Before we move on, like, I'm sitting there the first time watching episode 2, and the moment my eyes graced that fucking space diner, I was like, this is it. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen Star Wars do. And like, I just slumped in my fucking chair, and the movie went on for 2 more fucking hours, and I was like, just fucking shoot me. Like,
it's weird because the 1950s diner is probably the high point of that movie for me.
That's so weird. It's a weird
it peaks, and then it's
sorry.
Yeah, that was it.
I was gonna say the really specific thing that bothered me about Star Wars in general is that they would have like a lot of characters and might be like a side character in the movie, but like it's supposedly some kind of like, okay, so like in the bounty hunter game, right? There's a character Zamazelle who's like, she's kind of cool. She helps you. She's like a bounty hunter. She's a sniper, and apparently she's an alien that can shapeshift. We only see her as a human woman, and then in the movie you only see her as a human woman until she dies, and like that's the only time she shapeshifts is when she's like, I mean like that original form is when she dies, and that's it.
I think characters in the movies that are like a big deal outside of like the movies are seemingly always criminally underused and die embarrassingly in every time.
Yeah, she's like a T-1000. Just
also has the most roundabout way of trying to assassinate Padme. And it's like, I'm gonna get a robot to hide outside her window, and it will open the window and fire a centipede at her while she's sleeping.
This is the universe where they have laser swords and fucking like all kinds of crazy technology.
Fucking blow her up. Just
the craziest thing about that is like, I think it's Jango Fett, right? Where she hires Jango Fett, and then Jango Fett gets a droid to do it for him. It's so fucked up.
It's so weird. Wouldn't do that. He would like attack her when she's like leaving the fucking building or something.
A bounty hunter hires a bounty hunter who then gets a droid to get an insect to crawl through a window to kill a senator.
That's what you call subcontracting.
Yes. Also,
outsourced. He outsourced it to the bugs.
The only reason the previous plan worked or didn't work of blowing her up is because there was a double. That's the only reason blowing her up wasn't.
They could have done it again.
Yeah,
just do it. Right, man. I mean, she wasn't in the spacecraft. Fuck it. We'll never use explosives ever again.
Why didn't anybody track them down when they were fucking playing on sand and like Naboo or whatever the fuck?
That was.
I
would laugh my ass off if like fucking
hire the Gungans to kill her. It's really easy. I don't.
I would laugh my ass off like in the middle of that scene, like they're gallivanting on the fucking like the meadow, and like 3 ships come across and just photon torpedo the 2 of them into dust. Like,
yes.
I would like it if those giant tick-looking things just like ran down on him. They were just like
just mauled Anakin to death. That's the chosen one died, squished beneath a giant fat mammal.
It's George Lucas. I'm gonna squash you like a bug. Have you guys seen that?
No, what is that?
Somebody said something. It's like an interview with George Lucas or something. Somebody kind of said something like slightly jokingly disrespectful.
Oh, someone flexes. Someone flexes on George at like a premiere, and George, without emotion, looks over and goes, "I'll squash you like a bug."
It's world guy.
The funniest thing.
Can't remember what it's in relation to, but George is like, murder you.
That's my goal in life, is to get George Lucas to threaten me one time. That would be the funniest shit ever.
I want to know the context. I would love in the context of that one picture where it looks like George Lucas is coming out of the Speed Force towards J.J. Abrams.
That's a personnel, kid.
Just he's all the way up in Abrams' face, and Abrams is very clearly caught off guard. And I want to know what's going on there.
That's the funniest meme, because he's like, it was me, right?
I'm gonna swallow your soul right now.
George Lucas is secretly like a super petty bitch, because you guys all know about him getting shut down for opening a studio area around his house.
So he turned the entire area into low income housing.
Yes, and I love it.
What?
I love it so much. Yeah.
I was going to make fun of him. He's not.
He's
he tried to open a studio. Open a studio on his property or by his property?
He wanted to, and he got shot down for it.
And I guess the HOA or something like that, through a fit.
I don't even know if it was an HOA. I think it was just enough people in the area freaked out about him wanting to do something like that and worrying about the noise. And all that.
So then he sold the I guess whatever the property he's going to build it on to a low income housing company, and then the people around him got even more angry.
Yeah,
but poor folks.
Yep. Yeah, come live here. It'll be great.
You're gonna let the pores in.
I'm envisioning a bunch of overly tanned white women just clasping their hands to their chests when they see
every woman from Edward Scissorhands is on his front yard. Yes. How dare you?
Yes.
Look at there.
All right, do we want to move on to the next story?
I also don't know what this is, so take it away.
Any of you familiar with this book? I am, but I didn't know.
This is the one Stephen King book I have no idea anything about.
Wait, which one?
Revival?
Yeah, it's one I hadn't heard about either.
It is possibly the most mean-spirited Stephen King book I've read in a while, and this is one that he wrote later. I mean, you have to get to the ending to get to the mean-spirited stuff, but holy shit. It is.
I don't know, man. I think when he wrote Precious, that was pretty mean. I'm sorry.
Damn it.
Oh, he wrote Push, okay? Precious is the movie.
He was Sapphire. That's the name of Stephen King.
It was one of his pseudonyms. No, it's the whole idea is that there's a preacher who this guy meets when he's younger, who is using electricity to cure people of things and talking about how electricity is the one holy and true thing in the world. This guy later on grows up, he becomes a drug addict and runs into this preacher again who cures him of his addiction. But then things happen that all the things that he's been curing have a price, and I mean, does anybody care if I spoil the very end of the book?
I don't care. I want to hear it. I want to hear the story.
So the very end of the book, the main character ends up seeing what's on the other side when you die, and it's these giant Lovecraftian ant creatures that are just harvesting all of these screaming human beings.
Holy
nice.
And that is, I mean, it goes a little bit further after that, but that is what he saw on the other side, and that is what is awaiting everyone after death.
I'm sorry. Explain that again.
However, this guy ends up seeing the other side. I think he's close to death or something like that. There are giant Lovecraftian-like ant creatures that are harvesting human beings, and basically, what's that? I mean, wherever their souls are, whatever happens to these people after death. But that is what is awaiting everyone. There's no heaven, there's no hell. There's just this eternal torture.
So what does electricity have to kind of connect with that? Is the electricity
it's the electricity is somehow a power that he's harnessing that isn't actually what he thinks it is. And it ends up basically everybody who he cured or solved problems for, they ended up dying horribly or ended up murdering people on their way out.
Nice.
It's really mean spirited, and I loved it. It was great.
The crazy part is that actually happens when you die.
Well, it depends. If you taste a Nutella, then you go to another place.
A land of
what is the fucking the Brood Witch episode from Aqua Teen? Like
only real Nutella. You can't actually have any of that fake stuff. You can't have the oldie brand Nutella.
It's fake Nutella?
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
it's just it's just hazelnut spread. Like that's
No one should have the audacity.
Hey,
one
man,
person should be making the Nutella.
If it's a choice between paying like $5 or like $1.99, I'm gonna $1.99 version. Sorry.
Yeah. So all that sounds like a promising choice for Flanagan.
Mm-hmm.
It all fits his aesthetic. That end bit might be something he might cut out. I
hope not. Like that's
the
big
hope
reveal.
not as well. But
having taken the dive and like today, that sounds right up my fucking alley, especially with everything I read and saw today. That sounds super interesting about it.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a pretty quick read too, so it's worth checking out if any of you feel like reading a novel.
Is it Revival?
Revival.
Yeah, Revival. Yep.
Well, speaking of super interesting things that are possibly a little bit confusing but altogether fascinating, there's a second Tenet trailer. Tenet.
Tenet
trailer out
in a building.
And here's the thing, like, this gave me such Inception vibes.
Yes.
It's funny. The trailer even ends on a similar quip. The Inception trailer ended with like it was like, so you steal stuff. Well, not exactly. Or like, you must dream a little bigger, darling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to crash a plane. He's like, not in the air. That's dramatic.
It's kind of a greatest hit, this trailer.
I don't know. I'm in it. I'm in for it. Like, I mean,
here's the thing. My Nolan's perception and like his idea of sci-fi so interesting to me because it's not like big and giant and like really complicated. It's really simple, very subtle. Like Inception has this like introduced concept. Like, we can plug you into a device and you can enter a dream. You can have full control over it. And like there's no like giant bed or fucking animus. It's like a suitcase with a couple buttons you just plug into your fucking wrist. Like, they don't even spend any time showing that thing looks like.
Yeah, they don't need to explain it. It's more not about why it works. It's more about like the fact that you're
what it does.
I like that Nolan takes sci-fi and uses it like interesting things with like a filmmaking like the stuff like in Inception when like Gordon-Levitt is still can't explain the never-ending staircase. Joseph Gordon-Levitt tricks that guy up a staircase and pushes him down. I'm like, I don't know what just happened, but I love it.
It's a dream.
It's Tenet. Like, the thing I'm really excited about too is that isn't that Denzel Washington's kid playing the main character? I want to see him in more stuff because
he's in Black Klansman. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I saw that. That movie's great. Like, that was the first Spike Lee movie I've seen in a while that I really liked. But like, I think he seems to fit the role of like a smart action hero just from what I can see in Tenet.
I like that it's a spy movie, but it's not like it's original. It's not like really based on anything that I know of.
Well, Inception was a heist movie. Like it's one kind of applies like spy or war or like heist stuff to like a lot of stuff he does. Pattinson. Like, I'm really excited to see him in this movie. Like, need a blockbuster. Pattinson in it as a leading man for people to get over the fact that he was in fucking Twilight.
It also seems cool because he's playing kind of like a funny, like, sarcastic kind of James Bond type in a way.
Well, they got a real Tubman Crockett vibe from what I can tell. So that's cool.
I have no idea what's going on in this movie.
Spies and shit's weird.
And
time travel manipulation.
Well,
it's like time inversion, where basically you can like you can manipulate the flow of time backwards moment to moment.
In a way,
you can catch a bullet after you. It's kind of inconceivable to explain, like, because you can fire a bullet, but then just have it come right back to you. It's like you're not shooting it, but you're catching it.
You're going to a point where bad things happen, and you're stopping them from happening by kind of like not necessarily
undoing that.
rewinding. You're not really rewinding, but you're more like reversing certain elements.
It's a quick undo, essentially, is what it seems like.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Quantum Break.
The stuff they show in the trailer looks exciting as fuck. We see like the dude running in the fucking like the concert hall, like military looking guy, and like there's urgency.
Yeah,
and all this, like,
I love the way Nolan films action sequences. Always like The Dark Knight Rises may be problematic from a storytelling perspective, but that movie's a fucking spectacle.
I feel like the Dark Knight movies, that trilogy, like they're not the best Batman movies, but they're just good movies, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
the pacing and stuff like that.
Like because the end when he had sure he said like I want an army of police officers to fight an army of terrorists and thugs. Someone's like, all right, cool, we'll get some CG, and he said no, we'll get people, put them on the street, and film it for real, and we'll have like 200 people just smashing into each other.
Well, that's like story-wise and comic book-wise about those movies, where it's like, man, they didn't embrace like the detective stuff as much, but it's still I like those just as movies. They're really pretty decent watching.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Speaking about that scene where they're in the military gear and there's something going on at like a concert hall or whatever.
Yeah, I want to see the fuck that is. Like,
I was trying to figure out what was going on with all the people because they all looked like they're either dead or passed out. I'm not sure which. So I'm curious what's going on. Like I mean, that's.
It's like maybe there's like some people can like the bad guys and the good guys can control the time and they're like freezing everything. I don't know. Like it's
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm in for it, whatever it is, wherever it shows up. Even though I think he's going to lose this fight about getting it released in theaters. Like it's
and
July.
That's like and like I know like some people like some fronts who are just wrong. Like AMC is wrong right now.
Yeah,
they're thing with Universal. They are objectively wrong. And like thing is, and real quick about that, if you're an industry who's hurting for business right now, the last thing you should be doing is telling major companies not going to show their movies, which is a loss for asses and seats and a loss in concession sales. That's your fault, and that's a fight you're going to to Anyway,
you're telling the people who have Fast and the Furious that you're not going to show their movies.
I worked at a theater who boycotted Sony, and it didn't pan out for them at all.
Shocker.
But say, hey, we're not going to do it.
Well,
now.
in the long run, it kind of paid off.
Well, they boycotted super bad, which like came out and was explosive, and then the theater chain I was working for was like, that was fucking stupid. But that company's all over. But this, like, no one makes movies that are designed to be shown in theaters.
Yeah.
Especially IMAX theaters. So, and like, this is, I still maintain there are movies that should be seen first in theaters, and there are movies that you can totally watch at home. Like comedies. You need to see a comedy in theaters. You never need to see a comedy in theaters.
No.
For the most part, yeah. If you're gonna see it in theaters, it should be with a big crowd. The theater should be full. Otherwise, I don't see the point.
I don't think you need to see a drama in theaters, like most of the time. But like,
it depends.
Like,
if you want to pay attention to the movie and not your phone, you need to watch drama in theaters. That's what I found.
This 1917 like Avengers movie. Big giant tentpole blockbuster releases should be released in theaters because like the social setting, the sound system, the screen, it all adds to it. I don't want to see this get dropped on demand services.
Can I say kind of personal opinion? I like a lot of Christopher Nolan movies, like Dunkirk. Even though I did fall asleep in that, I gotta watch it again because I own it. But I feel like his movies are well made for theaters, but I kind of don't enjoy watching them in theaters because it's like they're long and it's like you might have to pee and it's just like you don't want to miss anything. And it's just like a lot of booming sounds. Like I just want to like watch that at home.
I totally get that. I don't know. I'd side note on how theaters are adapting. We have a theater that's in a town that's like 20 minutes away from me, and the way they're trying to make money is they're actually going to be doing drive-in movies. Like they went down to Maryland and actually bought a huge screen. I mean, mind you, that the movies they're showing, like they had 3 that they announced, and it was like Minions, Jurassic World, and Rise of Skywalker. So that was a big note for me.
My 3 favorite films.
Looks like I'm watching Minions.
I don't think they're gonna show fucking Sallow and have it followed up by a Serbian Tale. So but it's just kind of like, okay, I applaud your attempt at making money and remaining relevant, but it's just like, guys, come on. I don't know that, and it's not the same as a real drive-in theater. Not that I've ever been to one, but having a giant inflatable screen isn't quite the same.
Right. You said a Serbian film, and all I can think of is Isa's post from Murder.
Yeah,
that's why I said it.
I haven't watched it, and then after that, I got curious. Like, okay, I want to finally look up what this is about.
No, you should. You should never be that curious.
I regret it.
I've never seen it. I've only looked up what the movie's about.
I was like, what kind of sick fan fiction is this? Like, who likes this? Like,
there are 4 movies that have come out in the last decade and a half that I have said no outright to, and it is a Serbian film and all 3 humans.
Yeah, I can't. Like,
I don't need it, and like, I enjoy shock cinema. I don't enjoy shock cinema that effort
and on the shock.
Isn't particularly concerned with like good story or doing anything that's like, how would I describe this? Like, I don't want it to be classy, but like at some point you're overindulging in the shock.
Midsommar's kind of shocking, but Midsommar has a good story and good like acting and good like.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean.
You want it to have structure and shock.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be lacking one.
Midsommar's not just about the shocking images. It's like it takes you there and it's a journey and it's like interesting visuals and like good acting and you know.
Ari Aster also has mastered the art of making you so physically uncomfortable during a scene where people are just talking. So like I'm okay with him having a sequence where an old man jumps off a cliff and shatters his face in a rock and then has to be euthanized with a giant hammer. Which is like
the lady hit the face. He did it wrong. He landed on his leg like a dumbass. Anyways.
I saw how they filmed that, and it is gnarly. They apparently used a head that will collapse and then reassemble with like a couple like some bits of machinery and some inflation, so they could do that shot over and over again and not have to use several prosthetic heads over again.
That's insane.
That's awesome.
A real guy.
I need that.
Several old men were thrown off cliffs.
We had 5 real Swedish men who were willing to die for every role.
We killed them all. We killed them all with this giant Donkey Kong hammer.
Oh my god!
King the DD hammer.
I need an edit of this movie that has the Donkey Kong like hammer. I need that.
As soon as that guy jumps off, the hammer theme starts playing.
You're so good.
God, I need to. I think I can do that tonight. Really?
Yeah, do it.
Jesus Christ. Well,
fuck. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. I was gonna
say. We were talking about we were talking about Christopher Nolan. I'm kind of the beer's kicking in, so I can't hold on. So I'm talking about Christopher Nolan and John David Washington. So can we transition to like he was in Black Klansman, directed by Spike Lee. Can we talk about The Five Bloods? Because that looks like a good trailer. Like,
oh shit! I forgot that was coming out.
Have you guys seen the trailer?
Yes, that looks amazing.
Spike Lee Netflix movie about these like 4 black soldiers that were in Vietnam and like there's
5 actually, but remember one. Yeah.
I saw Bozeman and Spike Lee, and I didn't really feel the need to watch.
Oh, I have. I did see this trailer. Yes,
it looks fucking cool. Like it looks interesting.
Yeah, I really like the just from what you can tell from the trailer, just seeing like it looks like he's filming it completely different for when it's taking place in modern times too.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that movie looks crazy.
A good Spike Lee movie.
Well, and I'm kind of shocked that it's coming to Netflix. Like I didn't think he was really somebody who was a big fan of putting his films out.
I feel like he probably wasn't, but I feel like he's probably like, hey, look, coronavirus. Yeah, I'm not gonna like make people die to go see my movie.
He's probably. I think he's more socially adaptable. And
he wouldn't want people to fucking go like risk a virus.
NBA 2K.
No one is. Coen is far more of like an artiste, so he's going to throw more of a fit about it.
Well, he's been rallying against digital for the longest time, but it's the that new Spike Lee movie. I thank you for reminding me because that looks great, and I'm super excited for it because it's got a whole bunch of people I really like in it too. So
Delroy Lindo, fucking the guy who played Clay Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of good actors in there. I can't remember all their names.
Yeah.
Like I said, I see Bozeman. I'm seeing him in anything at this point, honestly. For me,
and when Spike Lee is like not trying to, I don't know, satisfy his artiste side too much, like when he can temper that down a little bit and tell a really good story and still have those little bits that he likes to put in. I love it. Like, I'm so in for it. It's just
can I just say, because like The Inside Man was a really good Spike Lee movie, and I didn't even know it was him at first. And
that movie's great. Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Like
honestly,
just,
the worst thing I've seen him do is the Old Boy remake.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I haven't watched that. I heard that wasn't great, but
I've wanted to check out the one movie that he remade. It's that vampire film. I can't remember the name of it. It's shit.
With the right one in or something?
No. It's
that was Matt Reeves.
It's a 70s vampire film, but it's oh god, By the Sacred Blood of Jesus, I think is the name of it. Something like that.
How have I never heard of this?
Yeah, let me look it up. You guys go ahead. You can jump into the next thing. I think that
will. Before we do, I need to finish this bottle.
It's going around tonight. So yeah.
Okay. That's not it.
I had 2 Coronas because I'm not scared of a beer that happens to be like the same name as the disease. I'm not an idiot.
Finishing a six-pack of Strongbow. So I don't drink anymore.
It's real quick. The name of the movie is The Sweet Blood of Jesus.
Okay, I have not seen that.
Yeah, it's something I heard about a while ago, and I was super curious. It's somewhat of a smaller budget for him. It's 1.4 million. It's got Rami Malek in it, and who else?
Trank.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we're attempting to transition, I'm hoping that my microphone picks up the audible sound of me opening another bottle.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of hell freezing over. Happened.
So,
and the Snyder Cut is coming to HBO Plus. Max? The fuck is it?
HBO Plus.
HBO minus.
HBO bingo.
HBO Prime.
HBO
Amazon Plus. Fucking Zack Snyder Cut of Justice League is coming to HBO Max in 2021.
So that means for me, Silent Hills is coming back, right? Like that's the next thing.
All the fuck down, okay?
Come on.
They're gonna Cyborg and Flash movies.
Will be released in either 3 parts, a 4.5-hour cut, or released as these kind of as an episodic content, which I really want it to be episodic. That would be really interesting.
You know what's funny? I have not actually watched Justice League. I've just heard about it and saw clips, but I want to only watch the Snyder Cut just to see. Like,
honestly, here's the thing: if that would be your first experience with it, I feel like that's kind of the more interesting way to go about it, because you're gonna see, you will see that without the stink of the movie that came out in theaters, and like your experience is gonna be unlike anybody, like probably unlike a lot of other people's.
Because I've only seen a few clips of the movie, but I haven't really like sat through it, so you know.
Like here and. A lot of us, I'm pretty sure all of us, were a lot softer on the movie when it initially came out, and we all eventually soured on it afterwards.
Because when I saw the trailer, I was like, "Holy shit, this Justice League movie looks kind of cool, and it might be good."
I think because BVS was what it was, then Justice League came out, and we're like, "Oh, this is a massive improvement over that absolute shit bomb."
And then both times, because the trailer BVS, I was excited also. I was like, "Oh shit, this movie's gonna be good."
Yeah, a lot happened though. So there were those press reports about a year before the movie came out that said that the movie looked promising. Wonder Woman happened, and at the time, everybody loved Wonder Woman. So there was like a wave of positivity going into that movie, and it didn't look like Lucy was going to come out of nowhere and take the football away. So yeah.
Then the fucking reshoots happened, and like Whedon came in and changed the tone of the movie entirely, but didn't change the tone of the movie enough to the point where it felt like on tone, the movie is very two-toned and has stuff that is comedic but not funny at all in the slightest. Like we're once again subjected to Whedon's obsession with people falling into people's breasts, like fucking 9-year-old child. That's just not funny. Stop it.
Which later becomes very revealing as to what type of person he is.
Yeah. So on that note, and this is not me defending Whedon, but it's just pointing this out. The movie was 3 hours up until 2 months before the movie was out. 3 hours, and it became 2 hours. so I wouldn't be surprised if that 3-hour cut was much more of a balance between both directors, because that's what we were hearing. We were hearing that it felt sort of like a half and half, like one person took over halfway through, and then they cut it by large amounts because, as we all know, the WB execs at the time were leaving and getting bonuses before handing the reins over to the people of AT&T. Important information that everybody needs to remember.
Yes, because the movie's timeline of release was bumped up because if it didn't come out at a certain time, these people wouldn't get their bonuses, correct?
They would be no longer in the company, and AT&T would be getting some, or their bonuses I think would just be smaller if they didn't put their last movie out by the time.
You think they got their Joker watching as a bonus?
Yeah, so then you have this Frankenstein of a movie that is like times compelling and joyful, and at other times confusing and just like other times it's fucking Steppenwolf.
And not the movie anybody involved in it wanted to make. That's something that needs to be pointed out.
And that's why personally what I think is the biggest tragedy about this, which is why I personally am for this, because it wasn't just Zack Snyder's vision that got fucked here. Everybody involved in the cast, the writer and the director, all had an idea of what this was going to be, and they were all very optimistic about it. And Warner Brothers is like, no, you can't fucking do that. Like, even Ben Affleck, who is the poster child for depressed actor for this like fucking universe, who is like, it makes me so sad, I don't want to be in it anymore, is rallying for this cut to happen because he's like, no, that's what I signed on for. That's what I wanted to do.
Fair.
I don't agree. And this news has come out. It has been a volcanic eruption of hot takes outside of this particular group, who I've listened to, long, elaborate, reasoning as to why it makes them upset or makes me excited. Personally, the rest of you who have vocalized negative opinions of this, jump into the aforementioned volcano and fuck yourself to death. I don't care about your negative ass opinions on this fucking movie, especially when you're spouting off bullshit. Okay?
Yeah.
This is not going to galvanize a bunch of shitty ass fans. First of all, shitty ass fans don't have much power. When's that remake of Last Jedi coming out? Never? That's what I thought.
So my whole thing with this is, I don't know how much better they can make it, honestly, because like.
The thing, and I thought about this today because I knew this was going to come up because one of the conversation topics has been like, nothing can save this movie from being better than it was. But how are you? Here's a question. Here's a question. Hold on.
How different?
There's two ways to watch Batman vs Superman. One is under duress and at gunpoint. Two is the extended cut.
Right.
Ever watch the theatrical version? God, don't watch the theatrical version. Monster of a movie. Yeah, the extended cut fixes so many problems.
Bad, though. That's my problem with. Here's my problem with that argument. Half of it's still awful. It's just that now they're an hour and a half.
Agree. However, the director's cut makes it a better film. It doesn't make it a great film. It makes it a better film.
It makes it a movie I'm less angry at. Yes, I agree with that. 100%.
And if this is ultimately that's fine. You should never go watch the theatrical cut. The ultimate result of this is like, that's better. I'm fine with it, even if it's not good. Okay with it. Sure. I'm also okay with Zack Snyder being allowed to finish what he fucking started. I like the guy. I don't think he's problematic at all.
No, but that's a disappointing movie.
My big thing with all of these Zack Snyder films goes back to he does not understand the tone of the characters he's trying to portray.
That is something I can agree with, because that one tantrum where he's like, Batman kills people. Are you all insane? I'm like, no. Only in the movies does he, because he has a 55 number body count if you compile all of his movies together.
But it just all the way back to Man of Steel. Like it's a soulless, unfun experience, and that is not what for me personally what I want out of Superman, and I think a lot of people that's not what they want out of Superman.
I understand that too, but if you were to, the thing is, I think Snyder's plan, which was to start dark and build up to a more hopeful DC universe, that's cool, but you're gonna lose people on the way there because they're gonna get exhausted with how much fucking death and despair there is.
Yeah,
here's the thing: Snyder's plan may have been unpopular, but it certainly wasn't fucking ambitious. Like, because if you follow his he had like a 5-movie plan for this, and like it involves some wacky shit.
I can't get behind it because I've watched the director's cut of Batman versus Superman, and even then I'm like, that's it. That's all you added.
I get that, hey, you don't have to copy the MCU, which is fine. They're being different, but only copy them with the pacing. The MCU had these decent pacing, but they didn't rush into everything.
Yeah,
and I'm especially okay with a darker DC universe because, honest, compare the two right now. DC is some of the most grim, violent, and dark shit I've ever seen. Having just come off Apocalypse War, my God, it's like a Mortal Kombat movie.
But that's a completely different world because the animated has always been able to, not always, but for the most part, the good stuff has been exceptional, and they've been able to walk that line really well. But live action, they've doubled down almost every time with the darkness.
At the same time, they do dark shit. They deliver the message of happiness.
It's the Nolan movies taught them the wrong lessons, that you have to be grim and dark all the time. Even though the Dark Knight movies, there was other themes in those movies of because it's always darkest before the dawn. It's escalation. Nolan had stuff that was peppered throughout that series that isn't just about bleakness. No, because BVS is so fucking mean spirited sometimes. And your Batman is someone who brands rapists, so when they go to jail, they get stabbed by other inmates. Holy shit!
Fucking Jimmy Olsen, and they have the African warlords kill all these innocent people, and it's Jesus.
Exactly.
I think
I think that right there is a great metaphor for his view on the wider DC universe. Is just this helplessly optimistic character. Nope, we need to get rid of him. No, that you're being an edgelord to be an edgelord, and it's kind of gross.
Yeah, I think we're rapist is what I'm getting at.
regarding Man of Steel, though, I will actually defend snapping Zod's neck because I think it's.
I get it. I fine with that. The portrayal of it was a little weird.
I think the situation's a little bizarre because it's hey, family, move.
Superman could grab Zod and fly into the fucking sky, and then
that was actually, and I'm gonna invoke the name of someone who has been canceled, but Max Landis of all people is one of the best arguments against Man of Steel because he's like the Superman I know would have grabbed Zod by the throat and thrown him to the moon and said, "We're gonna fight here. You can't touch anything here." It's and then he would have killed him there.
Well.
Exactly.
Yeah, a broken clock is right twice a day.
That's what Max Landis. That's what Max Landis would do to his girlfriend if he could too. So
right. God damn. God damn.
That probably would have been way cooler.
Where's my hug, Landis?
That probably would have been way cooler because it would just be him keeping him on the moon and keep repeatedly slamming him back into the moon.
That's his argument. He's like Clark wouldn't have. He's like my problem isn't that Clark killed Zod. My problem is Clark waited too long to kill Zod. If he was deciding to kill him as the only solution, he would have tried that first. He would have taken the fight out of Metropolis and tried to dispose of him or stop him immediately. He's instead caused irreparable damage to a city, and they caused so much destruction and death.
Well, and the psychological scarring he caused that child when he broke Zod's neck in front of him, that's
I don't know why that was so funny to me.
Okay, because that's not what Ayn Rand would do.
Ayn Rand would move into the laser.
Ayn Rand would have them both shoot their laser at the child for being there, for being in the proximity,
for having the audacity to be in the middle of their death match,
for not being exceptional. And then she'd go on welfare.
It all comes back to that to me. I don't care if you don't think he's problematic. I think the dude is. He can work on movies. I don't care. He can continue doing movies. I'm fine with that. He shouldn't be working on DC stuff.
And here's my other thing about the one thing I'll knock against him is that as a director, purely as a director, from a technical, visual, audio perspective, I think he's got loads of talent. As a creative guy, he should be nowhere near a fucking script.
No,
absolutely. It's weird because
he's the man that's responsible for zombie babies and a woman getting raped by a bunch of zombies. Like, no,
what the fuck?
Yeah,
that's in the yet unreleased Army of the Dead.
Wait, is that a thing? Are you serious?
That's in the script for Army of the Dead, and it's Netflix. So I can guarantee you, it's in the final movie. 100%.
And like, I've never seen Sucker Punch, but I hear Sucker Punch is also kind of full of like really cringeworthy stuff.
I understand by like 300 is for what it is pretty fun and it fits.
That's the thing. When Snyder works,
and Watchmen is good.
Yes. That's the other thing. When Snyder works slavishly to a source material, can't fuck up because it's all there for him. He's in making the decision that was made in Watchmen was changing the ending, which I still support.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it was bad. It was just different.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
It also saves the audience loads of time because like you can see very casual moviegoers going like, okay, hold on. So that guy was hired to draw the squid monster. That guy who lives in the Arctic. You could then take the squid monster, blow that guy up, and send it what? And this is like, yeah, no, Dr. Manhattan did it.
No, it makes not being in the movie makes Watch Dogs the series 10 times better when they show the squid.
Yeah, the Watchmen series is fucking amazing.
Watch Dogs. One quick thing. David Hayter came up with the Dr. Manhattan thing.
Really?
That's fine. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's an important thing to point out. That was his idea.
It's like I'd said in our chat. Like Zack Snyder, the reason why 300 and Watchmen work so well is because he already had scripts treatments in front of him. He already had basically all of his boards ready to go because he could just pull directly from that. And even not same thing, but with Dawn of the Dead, like that was a James Gunn script. Like that is why that movie was so good. Yes, the aspects of the way he chose to film it were great, but that movie is made by the script.
I think Wooly from Super Best Friends said it best. It says Zack Snyder excels at majestic audio-visual experiences. Yes. Don't let him tell a story.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Don't let him near the script.
Because like even when you suck the context out of stuff from Batman vs Superman, like some beautiful shots in that movie. Objectively beautiful shots.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that movie's pretty sometimes. Like when Superman's dragging the ship and there's got the Aurora Borealis over him. The shot of him over the Day of the Dead people. Some of the shots of Batman are so awesomely filmed.
Yeah. A lot of the shots
I really love the shot of him.
It was just the editing and like the placing of some of the scenes together didn't make sense.
Yeah, I love the shot of him climbing up Mount Everest to see his father, who tells him a story about how you have to let horses die. That's my favorite part of that.
It would be 10 times better if it was a music video. Like if it was all like a 4-minute music video, it would be so much cooler.
Well, that's what the first trailers for Watchmen were. Like, they were a Smashing Pumpkins song, or that, or maybe it was just Billy Corgan's solo song over top of scenes from the movie.
It was it was the stripped down like the industrial version of The End is the Beginning. Well, okay.
Yeah.
The beginning is the end is the beginning, and there's the end is the beginning is the end. I can't remember which one they used. One was in Batman and Robin, one is in Watchmen. But my favorite really cringeworthy scene that is the theatrical cut expanded on the director's cut, which actually saves it from being terrible, is when his face blows up his wheelchair in the Senate House, and Superman's like, "Oh, dang it," and just flies away.
His reaction is so
that scene is better it's much better in the
because he tries helping people, and he's like, "I failed catastrophically, so I'm going to leave because like I have fucked up so bad that I can't take this."
Well, also, which is like start like yelling at him and like
start pointing at him and like and in the theatrical cut, he's like, well, "That just ruffles my jimmies," and he just flies off.
He just disappears for no reason.
He doesn't like explain or something like.
He just fucks off for 25 minutes and goes and talks to Ghost Dad.
Oh no, I messed up.
Yeah, well, and I do want to address the whole thing of him getting a chance to actually make the final movie. I feel for that. But for me, it's just I feel like that chapter's done. It's done. That chapter's closed.
And here's the thing, like
door is done.
If the campaign for the Snyder Cut solely comprised of people who were like attacking people and were being obnoxious, probably be more supportive of like, hey, don't do that. But like, since there was people who were like who raised $100,000 for suicide prevention charities and like, because of the circumstances surrounding Snyder's like departure, I'm like, I'll let him do it. Like, I don't see how this hurts anything. Other people might disagree with me, but like, I'm going to champion that side of it, and like that's only where I sit. Like I said, and the neckbeards and the angry ass nerds who get bent over shape everything. Nah, fucking kill yourself. I don't give a shit. Like,
I mean, I'm the person who once told Nazis to kill themselves on the show.
Choke on your own vomit. I don't care about you.
Yeah. I can see that. I can the suicide prevention thing. That's a good cause, unequivocally.
Yeah, but kill yourself.
You don't get to reap the benefits from suicide prevention. To have the awful side effect of it, just not existing.
I can completely respect the positive that came from that, as much as it's terrible neckbeards. I feel like there's a lot of people that think that this is somehow going to make this end game or make this like
they think that, but they're not going to get that, and that's
or they think,
fucking won't be.
Or they think that the DCEU is going to be run by Zack now. Like, he's going to come back and he's going to be put back in charge. Like, no. At best case scenario, Walter Yamada stays on, and he lets the directors who are currently working have a bigger part in everything. But who knows?
Yeah.
I don't think that it's going to be that way.
Should be seen, even I'm not seeing it as like the return of the Snyderverse, because it's not. This is just doing right by a guy who was fucked by the system, and that should be seen. That should be only what you see it as. Please, like, you should not expect Justice League Part 2 anytime soon.
Well, for me, a cynical view that I have is like, this is more Warner Brothers just like, fuck, we need to do something. All right, let's do this.
Well, something I brought up in the chat today, which actually, if this is what they're doing, I'm kind of more in favor of it, which is the idea of them doing this just to embarrass and put the faces of the previous executives' noses in the piss.
Which I'm kind of supportive of, oddly enough.
That's what they're doing, and they announced that they're right. If they're just doing that for a bunch of other movies, if they're like, the last executives fucked this movie over.
Yeah, like if they're going through their catalog and it's like, here's a list of movies the previous the previous regime completely and utterly disastrously botched. Let's restore them and release them as they were meant to be seen and make these people look like morons.
I love a good dump.
That's what they're doing, and if we find out that is, then 180 for me completely, because that's the kind of like, fuck you, previous people choice that I am very much in favor of. But
fuck you, theme park executives.
Right.
But I'm excited for it, and like, especially hearing like they're gonna hire like the dark side actor is coming in for this. Like, they're apparently following up on the Martian Manhunter stuff that was supposed to be in it. Like, I want to see all the extra pieces that weren't there, because like there's a curiosity. It's like, I've got this painting, but here it is, 35% finished. And someone just takes it and locks it away, and you go like, "Hey, is that done? See it? Oh, why?"
Yeah. So here's the thing: I would feel a lot better about this if I knew that this was the absolute end of it. That's the other thing for me. Yeah. They announced a $20 million budget, which makes me think that they're going to be using a lot of footage from the movie that did get made. That's honestly like a big problem for me. Well, and I think there are going to be people who see that and say, "Well, that's not the Snyder Cut. That's not the actual Snyder Cut. I want the Snyder Cut." And I'm worried about this continuing to spiral on for years and years. That's my biggest concern, is that this will just continue.
Previous footage, like, you can see in trailers and like very clearly tell that someone went through a VFX chainsaw and butchered the aesthetics of what was going on in the background, because like there's entire sequences that were just changed through CGI. They like, as long as you change the color scheme of the finale, where it doesn't look like it was taking place entirely inside of a fucking toaster. I'm kind of okay with that. And I know people are like, it was gray and drab. I'm like, I would take gray and drab over like, the heat on? What's happening? Are we dying? Am I being using more radiation? Like,
Well, I
feel like we're intelligent enough to see that and say to ourselves, okay, well, that was clearly a scene that was always going to be that way. That scene was always going to look that way regardless of the director. I'm really worried that there are going to be people who are like, no, this was invented by Joss Whedon, who was one of the co-writers on the movie during production. So yes, it was invented by Joss Whedon, probably.
Yeah. And one of the scenes I'm looking forward to having a visual change is when Clark comes back, because that was color corrected to take place during the day. I guess in the original cut it was at night, and like you can tell it's been violated as far as color correction goes, because like nothing looks right in that sequence. Everything is jumping out at you all the wrong ways. Like,
and if I'm wrong about the budgeting and all that stuff, fine. But like everything that I know, hearing experts talk about this movie and talk about how the visual effects, how expensive they must be, regardless of what was done before the movie came out, because they have to throw that stuff away. And we've gotten confirmation about that stuff from inside sources that we know and may or may not be super close with at the moment. But we know that they throw that stuff away. So they have to start.
They don't have enough storage to hold all that. I did, on a side note, I did hear that $5 million of $2 million budget is going to be put towards the opening scene of the movie. That actually flip it to horizontal instead of vertical filming myself.
Here's the thing. I wonder
to do that. I wonder if that shot gets expunged entirely. If that
I want the Snyder Cut to be it's more camera phone footage, but it's Batman, and the kids are like, "Hey, Batman!" And he's like, "Fuck off, little shit."
Exactly. Yes.
He smashes one of their into.
He takes out his bat-shaped hot iron braced knuckles and just hits him right in the chest with it. He's like, "Never go to fucking prison, or some bad shit's gonna happen to you."
He's like, "I know it's school hours. Truancy's not fun." And he like fucking hits him in the chest. Go back to school, you little shit.
He punches one in the trachea. Just
he slid right in the forehead. McCollney's throat at the end of that scene at the top of that building.
Anyway, on to more DC. That is odd and lots of speculation around it, I guess. And kind of unprecedented, since they don't usually do this on the CW shows. Ruby Rose is gone as Batwoman, is going to be replaced for season 2, which is something they've never done with the lead actor. Even a named hero. They never recast anybody before ever.
That's pretty weird. Did she say why she?
There's
medical reasons, I assume.
There was an answer that apparently she wasn't happy with the shoot times for the show. Like it was so long, and she wasn't expecting that, and apparently she wasn't happy with it, and that made other people unhappy with her, and so on.
Listen, my wife Ruby Rose gets what she fucking wants. Okay.
I didn't know you had a vagina, so
here's the thing: Ruby Rose
was bisexual.
No.
Oh.
Ruby Rose is easily the biggest hire the CWs have these shows.
Yes.
That being said, she
Poor
walked
Brandon
in.
Routh.
Yeah. Well, he was huge, and then like Hollywood was like, we don't care anymore. Go do a Dylan Dog sequel. Ruby Rose walked in the door with controversy kind of attached to her ankles.
Yeah,
I guess made weird comments in the past before, and like people were like as Batwoman is a gay character, like the gay community, the gay fans were very, I guess, not happy with her being cast because of comments she's made in the past and how not openly gay she is, I guess.
It wasn't just that, it was that what was it? We want more gays is something akin to what was being suggested, that there was a fear that she was the only gay woman getting roles, and that there was sort of a tokenization with her that was happening. That was a major complaint, I remember at the time. I think it's kind of a silly complaint, but whatever.
My biggest thing when they first cast her, I'm like, she's not that good of an actress, even for CW standards.
Yeah.
Right, and my response was they don't need her to be, because Stephen Amell wasn't. And that worked out.
The thing is, like, Ruby Rose's career is far more advanced than Amell's by the time she got picked up. Amell became a better actor through Arrow. Doubt Ruby Rose is going to get better through Batwoman.
Yeah, I don't think
we'll
you
never
can
know now.
polish a turd, really.
We'll never be sure, but I do agree with that. Yeah, it's weird that this has never really happened before. And it's not like people have not come in with sort of some amount of a career before. Like I brought this up. Melissa Benoist was in Oscar-nominated movies before she signed on to be Supergirl.
Yeah, like I mean, that whole network just cannibalized Glee's entire cast.
Right.
And my wife, Melissa Benoist, okay.
Your other wife. My big thing is that what does Ruby Rose really think is going to happen? She's leaving Batman. Like, I don't think anyone's really clamoring for her thing. Like, at best, she's good as like a tertiary conjunction too, and she didn't even speak in that.
I think the Ruby Rose problem is that like for a hot minute, people were like, "Wow, she's the next big fucking thing," and she wasn't. Now she's stuck in this like nebulous kind of like this limbo area for an actor where it's like not in demand, only a name, but there's nowhere for you to go.
Yeah, the acting's not that.
Yeah, because you're not very talented. First of all, like what was she, a model first?
She's just good looking and she's unique, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
She's a very vocal fan base apparently. That's what kind of her up a little bit too.
Well, and I think and it's not her fault. What ended up putting her more and more in the spotlight was because she's openly gay, and news reports couldn't help be like, "Oh, this gay actress who's well." It's like, well, that's
look how androgynous she is with her tattoos and short hair.
Listen, journalism is dead.
Yes, it is.
Like before I ever saw her in any movies, she was a big deal on Tumblr, and I was, of course, I was a big Tumblr user, so I
cranking it so hard.
I would never do that. I couldn't even hold a straight face.
Yanking his doink.
But yeah, no, she was
midget clown.
Hey, don't say that.
But there was a time where you couldn't open Tumblr and not see the post about her where it's like a post of her wearing very femmy clothes, very just like obviously female, and then it's her changing and looking very male. And that was a giant post on Tumblr that was just everywhere. And the trans community and sort of, everything within the rainbow. Yeah, they very much reposted that post with vigor.
Which is fine, but is not that.
Yeah, but that shouldn't stand in place of her actual acting ability.
Right. I agree. I'm just pointing out that that's where I
no.
And the thing is, like, that's actually something the DC CW shows have kind of excelled at, is taking like what are essentially just like people and turning them into actors. Like, I didn't know about Robbie Amell or Stephen Amell when they both got hired, and like I guess they both.
Dustin was.
Yeah, no, and I guess both of them. I guess both Amells had big problems with the way that show was sold initially, because it was just like here's Stephen Amell shirtless and a text that says Arrow. That's it.
Yeah.
They were trying to exploit the fuck out of the Twilight audience. That's what their main goal was. That show slowly evolved into a comic book show, and not Eobard, Jesus. Wait, can you
but yeah, like they've been very good at like taking, I guess, misfit toys and making them work within what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I saw Katie Lotz in a single movie before she was Sarah Lance, and now I'm like, God, put her in everything. She's awesome.
Exactly. Like Manu Bennett was in the Spartacus show before Arrow, and then I don't know of anything else he was even in. So they did that a lot with actors who were on things that were in the periphery that most people weren't paying attention to, and bringing them to people's attention.
I mean, they took Tom Cavanaugh, who like I only knew as a comedic actor from like Scrubs and I can't remember what show he did, but like he's JD's older brother, and like he's a laughing stock throughout that entire show. He plays a loser, and this like season 1 of The Flash, he is fucking menacing. I don't think anyone knew he had that in him, and that's kind of why I love season 1 so much, because the villain arc is so good. Kavanaugh is like destroying it the whole time, and then it's like
it's also the fact that because like he wasn't that well known, but he still looked familiar. I was like, where do I know this guy from? And then like, oh
my
god,
that's
he's
Ranger.
Sinister.
It's Ranger Smith from the Yogi Bear movie.
Right.
God. Yeah, I forgot that existed. Damn, that's a real thing.
But on the thing of what's Ruby Rose gonna do next, I don't know. I think she'll just do what she was doing already, which is, side roles in action movies, I guess.
So just being a working actor, essentially. Because, I mean, she does do all of her own stunts, from what I know. And doesn't she have a background in stunt work?
I mean, I said it when she was announced. I think that's why she got hired. Because they wouldn't have to train anybody.
Yeah. For the longest time, I thought Ruby Rose was like an MMA fighter before she was that.
Why not?
And here's the thing, though, but hiring, fuck, I can't remember her name from Mandalorian.
Gina Carano. Gina Carano's
and finding a Gina Carano with someone who has acting potential but hasn't really blown up yet is probably a smart move for season 2, because, I only saw Gina Carano pop up a few times. The first few times I was like, she's not that good. She doesn't do much. But then, for some reason, Mandalorian, Deadpool, Deadpool, she's great. And then Mandalorian, I'm like, holy shit, she is incredible. And, first of all, she looks like she could turn into a fucking pretzel.
She can kick all the asses, but she also, has personality.
She could fucking destroy me in her sleep. She's still hot and has so much fucking charisma in that show.
Yeah. And she's dating Henry Cavill.
She's not dating him anymore. Apparently, they broke up.
Here's the chance.
Here's the thing. Couldn't stay together. Their kids would dominate the planet. Okay.
Right. It would be unfair for the rest of us.
They would take over so fast. Can you imagine if with fucking Henry Cavill's fucking charm and physical and Gina Carano's strength and skill? My fucking god, there'd be nothing left for us.
It's like the Rick and Morty snake episode. It's like
got their mustaches.
I have similar feelings about Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins' kid. That kid's gonna grow up
man. Perfect. First of all, that kid is gonna have a mouth you're not gonna believe, because Becky Lynch makes it a career to body people on Twitter. It's not even funny. And Seth Rollins the opposite. Seth Rollins sucks on Twitter. He should never be on Twitter ever again. But he's also he's a freak athlete. That kid is gonna be a superstar coming out of the fucking.
But somebody from the wrestling or MMA world would be a good replacement. I'm also a fan of Stephanie Beatrice. Her saying that she wants to do it.
Who that is? Hang on.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She's yeah.
There's rumors of her being Batwoman.
She wants it. She put out a tweet that said, looking up everything about Batwoman. So yeah.
Could be her just making a joke, but we don't know.
I mean, stranger things have happened. So I don't know if you heard, but the Snyder Cut is coming out. I
can't think of
odd
any
world
transition, but can we talk about how Christopher Nolan's going to do a screening of one of his movies on Fortnite?
Oh, Christ.
I hope it's Tenet, because I want to watch Tenet. It's probably not.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if at the very end they're like, and now for the final movie, and it's Tenet. That would actually be kind of
cool. All these movies, Star Wars, whatever movie's gonna be shown on Fortnite, they missed the boat on Fortnite really hard. Yeah. So this is gonna be really interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing. They wouldn't show Tenet on Fortnite because it would be on YouTube 20 minutes after it's over.
They're gonna show Happy.
No, he would shut that down hard.
I don't know though, because it would be a matter of
he'd have Tom Hardy show up at your house and punch you in the mouth for uploading that.
And then he'd take your dog.
So actually, while googling Beatrice, I came across someone else who threw the hat in for it, and it is in the wrestling community.
Blonde? Okay, because there's a younger blonde actress, I think it was, who'd thrown her hat.
It is Sonya Deville, who is a former mixed martial artist who's now in the WWE.
Oh.
She would be pretty good. She's fine.
What's
I don't hate her.
Sonya Deville.
is WWE's first openly gay wrestler.
You know what?
Okay.
I thought they had another one. What's that guy?
Oh, Darren Young. Right. No, she's the first.
Gay woman. Or lesbian.
That they're openly gay. Vince McMahon would never allow someone to say they're gay on his TV program.
No.
So when they say openly gay and they're involved in WWE, it was the fucking asterisk.
Anyways, what do we want to move on to the next thing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very nebulous topic because I don't know anything about his Capone film.
Oh wait, the Capone movie? Holy fucking shit! Okay,
I have not seen the trailer, but
yeah,
I saw it.
Yeah,
I saw a trailer for it after I read about it. Be forgiven for thinking this movie is a mobster movie, very run by the numbers mobster movie. Be wrong though. Apparently, this movie is about the final days of Al Capone when he was absolutely stricken with dementia and going completely fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, this movie borders on horror movie territory because they spend a lot of time with Capone in his house, with just seeing shit that's not real. That sounds fucking horrific. Apparently, he has a crying man in his shower. Constantly sees like a boy covered in blood who claims to be his unborn son. Keeps revisiting some kind of Tommy gun massacre. Yes.
Is him dealing with his demons while he dies, basically?
Yeah.
Yes, like while he's just like he has no control over his mental faculties. Like people in between this, people are like, "This is a hidden stash of money." They're like, "But he's out of his fucking mind. There's no way we can get this information out of him." I guess it spends a lot of time in his head and what he's seeing and what he's dealing with, as opposed to minutia of being a mobster.
Do mobster stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the mobster stuff is over, and he's just fucking falling apart mentally.
Yeah, it's a very respectable choice to go with. Because the other thing is to basically remake. How the fuck am I forgetting the name of the fucking movie? The fucking movie.
Scarface.
No, the movie with Capone in it.
Untouchables.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes.
That's it.
That choice I would not respect at all. But saying no, let's do Capone at this point in his life, and he's been. This story is on here because he's been talking a lot about Fantastic Four and just his entire career. Like he's been saying stuff I didn't expect him to say till like 2024, till he'd had his comeback already. But he's sort of just like letting loose about everything that was going on at the time, his thoughts on everything. So yeah, he's just been saying stuff.
Now I haven't seen the Fantastic Four stuff, so I don't know what he's saying. But like, I saw an article about this movie, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know it was coming out soon." And I saw a picture of Tom Hardy in the Capone makeup. I was like, "Oh, this looks freakish." Like one, it's Hardy, and like, to point out something very interesting about that. He's like, I love Tom Hardy. He's like, the problem is always distracting because he's a fucking mountain of muscle in any role you put him in.
Yeah,
it's like no matter how much makeup you cover him in, he is a fucking shithouse and so distracting.
Have you seen him in Rock and Roll when he was skinny? It was fucking weird in school, but it's like
it's very strange. Him in Rock and Roll and him in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That's a weird alternate universe.
And like I think
in Nemesis.
Oh god, in Nemesis.
In Lawless, he is so fucking jacked. He doesn't fit into any of the fucking clothes they put him in. Like he is constantly just bursting out of these like 20s and 30s sweaters they have him in. He's just walking around like he has to turn sideways to fit through doorways. Like he's ridiculous in that movie.
Yeah. As much as he is very big dude. He steals a lot. Like, look, all the actors in Peaky Blinders are great, but he steals the scenes that he's in. Like,
that's what I was saying. That's what I was like. I think most people will be like, "Oh, he's just like a slab of meat." Like, no, you should watch Locke and see how fucking cerebral and insane he gets.
Yeah.
Or Bronson, or Tom Hardy.
Or that Taboo show that he made. I didn't finish it, but he's good in the first couple of episodes. Like,
he was good in that. Fuck Eobard, that was my nail.
That show. that show is an example of what happens when you let when you just let an actor control a project too much.
Taboo.
Yes, taboo. Because he's allowed to do all of the Hardy things. But the story drifts quite a bit. Yes, being naked, wearing things on his face, and doing a weird accent that nobody can quite understand.
I kind of like it though, because
wearing a hat.
He feels very much in. I don't know, there's something special about that. He created that he's in,
Yeah,
I saw something about it was after Fury Road came out, and they're like, Tom Hardy's really good at being big, mean, and having shit on his face.
Yeah. And there's I've heard some people say that that's their problem with him, that he always has to do that he has to hide the fact that he has movie star charisma behind.
Honestly, I think it's the fact that he can act without having to do face stuff. You know what I mean? He can act.
Yeah, he just needs his eyes. He just
his performances with Bane is all body language and just his balls, and he's doing so fucking much in that movie.
Even though that's not a good depiction of Bane, he's still great in that role. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean
if you're Lou, that's the biggest bastardization of that character. But Batman and Robin still exists, so he's wrong.
Lou's wrong about a lot of things.
At least he talks in fucking Dark Knight Rises.
Right, and at least he is a character. Even if the character is flawed. So yeah.
Oh.
Also,
we can do this voice for Harley. The problem is also Harley Quinn show came in and assassinated the Tom Hardy depiction of Bane by making him a fucking fool who blows up stadiums because he got the answer wrong on trivia night.
Pretty great.
Not because he's threatening, but he does in season 2. I will say I've caught some of that. Bane beats the fuck out of Bruce Wayne in a way I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Because we're long past the point of breaking his back. Real quick, Bruce gets a super suit after he gets injured again, goes and fights Bane. Bane swings him around and snaps his knees against a pole.
Batman's knees?
And his legs explode.
Wait, what?
Bane grabs him by the arms and swings him around by the wrists until Bruce's legs collide with a beam, and his knees explode, and he's left there in a suit. Then he's like,
"Holy shit!"
Show is so violent and so fucking funny. I just watched a clip where Jim Gordon.
I do like that they cuss in that show. It's pretty funny.
Oh god, they cuss so much. I just watched a clip where Jim Gordon takes back the GCP by having a police car into the front and then taking a chain gun from somebody and murdering everybody inside. Jeez. Anyway, where the fuck were we? Just Trank. I don't know. Capone is. I think it's out. I don't know where it is, but I definitely want to watch it.
It's streaming most places, as far as I can tell. So yeah.
Discord did the thing.
Probably gonna watch it.
Died.
It's good.
Discord did the thing, and we know what it is.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, have you guys heard about? There's that Snowpiercer show, right? Which the movie was good, and the show seemed kind of it's similar to the movie. Maybe they do something different. I read some articles about it. They said it's a cop show, and they kind of ruined the whole energy of. Basically, it seems like, yeah.
I also read a reveal about who is it? Wilford? Who the fuck is the guy? The architect.
Willard or some shit.
So they did what. They did what people wanted to do with The Walking Dead, where The Walking Dead was also going to be a cop show. It was going to be people solving cases while the zombie apocalypse was happening. Is that what they did?
I think the problem is and apparently this show is holding to the continuity of comic and the movie by trying to say it takes place in between those points in time, basically, where the apocalypse started. Yes, and the movie being the end of the journey, and this is happening in between that.
I thought it was just a retelling or something, or
No, it takes place it's got a point in the timeline of Earth freezing and then Snowpiercer being destroyed. It happens right in the middle of that.
Because so what I've seen of it, the trailer looks kind of interesting. It looks kind of like a slightly different take on the movie where it's stretched out. But I read some articles and they're saying how David Diggs who was a good actor, but they said like they give him like weird lines to say, and he doesn't really like shine in this. But they said like he's like one of the last detectives or some shit, and then like what's her name, Jennifer Connelly, whatever her name is, gets like hires him to solve some kind of like murder. But it's just kind of dumb because like the whole thing's supposed to be about revolution and like uprising.
Right.
Yeah, the problem is making a Snowpiercer TV show is that the most interesting part of the story is when the story ends, when the back parts of the train decide to have a violent uprising that succeeds, and you get all these horrifying.
That, but
and the movie gave you all these horrifying character revelations about these people you like. The show is like, remember that time that the people who were under the foot of a bunch of wealthy people took back the train? Yeah, I'm not going to show you that.
Yeah. Because on the article I read, it says like, it seems like it starts off almost like it's that, but then like it kind of cuts that short where she's like, wait, I need you though. You're the last detective. I need you to solve a murder. And like,
also seems to imply, without spoiling too much, that there had been multiple people to hold the title of, it's Willard, the guy who designed the train.
I guess.
People take up his identity to maintain the fact that he's still there. If it's holding to the movie continuity, that guy has always been there. There's never been somebody else. Oh, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. I like the idea that Snowpiercer is a sequel to the Chocolate.
What?
It's a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh yeah.
God damn it!
I've seen that video and it's fucking hysterical and it works so well.
Chocolate was bugs the whole time.
Oh, it's that Charlie is the designer of the train.
Yeah.
Oh no. All right.
Jesus Christ.
Anyways.
I don't know anything about this It Follows thing.
It's pretty solid. The director of It Follows is doing something superhero-esque. It's supposed to be like a deconstruction of superhero movies. And I'm curious to see how that works. Other than It Follows, have any of you seen this director's follow-up to that?
I have not.
What was it again?
What was it?
Under the Silver Lake.
No, I've not yet. I've wanted to.
No, but I saw a trailer for that and it really caught my eye.
You should, because it's a weird-ass movie where, like...
It's Andrew Garfield, right?
Yes, it's Andrew Garfield, but it's a weird movie with a lot of meta subtext and things going on.
The trailer I saw for it was weird because like it starts off like I'm trying to sell you a movie like Perks of Being a Wallflower or like a coming of age like or something like that, like a weird drama comedy. Then
it's
really quickly pushes that concept and feeling off a cliff.
No, it's what it is. It's a detective mystery drama that goes really weird. It goes into some weird avenues. Some weird.
Like Andrew Garfield's looking for someone who's purportedly missing.
Yes, and it's a
goes
mystery
into weird
that leads
conspiracy story stuff. Like
yeah.
It goes. Yeah, it's sort of a noir thing, but it goes into all kinds of other weird obscura stuff. He finds like the homeless code written on the wall of this girl's apartment that she just vanished from, and all kinds of other strange stuff. There's a woman called the Owl Lady who seemingly exists to kill people. There's just all kinds of strangeness.
It's like a metaphor, some kind of mythology or something. What is it?
It's weird. Like it's a movie that's not a horror movie. It's definitively not a horror movie, but there are scenes in it that are terrifying because it's It Follows guy. So it's very well directed. It's kind of a movie. It's kind of punk rock in a way. Like it's a movie that wants you to turn it off at various points. Andrew Garfield punches a child.
Sometimes he's asking for it.
Yeah, like and it's weird. Like he punches a child who has like put foam or something on the door handle of his car, and he sees the kids who did it, and he chases them down. And the child is holding in his other hand a Spider-Man comic book, and he punches that child.
Okay, I see what we're getting at.
And then at one point in the movie, you meet his best friend or his only friend in Hollywood, and his friend is Topher Grace.
His last name is Webb. I'm kidding. I made that
And it's him and Topher Grace commiserating about how they're done in this town. It takes place in L.A. And about how
shows up and pees on them.
That would not be out of place, and about how things have not gone the way that they expected them to go. So there's a lot of strangeness going on, and then just watch the movie. It's a long ass movie with a lot of weird sequences and moments. So yeah, I am curious to see what his deconstruction of a superhero movie will be, because Under the Silver Lake has a lot to say about modern pop music, about life in LA, about just the existence that people go through, and all of that pointed at superheroes. I am very curious. And then there will also probably be sequences that are utterly terrifying featuring superheroes as well, I would imagine. So yeah, I'm
for it.
Given how Brightburn and Chronicle, speaking about Trank, horror movie stuff kind of gets peppered in with super genre. Sneaks the fuck out of me, because the idea of exploring, like, I mean, if Clark as a child was like, I'm just gonna murder you, that's fucking terrifying, because like, what are you gonna do to him, really?
Yeah.
And I love Chronicle, because like Chronicle isn't just like
it's a school shooter movie with superpowers.
Yeah, it's also like it's also Carrie.
It's Akira.
Akira. It's so many other things that work so well, and like Dane DeHaan is also fucking awesome in that movie.
Yeah.
That's also where we've discovered Michael B. Jordan, essentially.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that movie is terrifying at times. Actually, speaking of him, like, I think the most gut-wrenching scene in that movie is when Dane kills him with lightning, because the last thing you hear is a scream.
Yeah. It's something
horrifying. Or when he I think it's when he attacks his stepdad.
I don't know. I imagine the most horrifying thing is the mess he has in his pants after he failed.
God damn it! In my head, I go to something similar to The Boys, but taken seriously, because I think one of my problems with The Boys is that they make a joke out of something that's terrifying, which is the Superman character in that universe, who is like a mommy obsessed, like, sexist.
Homelander is easily one of the most uncomfortable characters I've ever come across in my life, because
he's no remorse. He's a sociopath.
Yeah, Eric, you told me like the book is far worse than the show is probably ever.
The things that happen in the show are already bad, though.
Eric, you've read the book, so you need to correct me on something I heard, but can't prove because I only read it. Airplane scene in the show.
I've never seen the show, so.
It's not 9/11. Is the airplane scene in the book 9/11?
I'm trying to remember. The way they frame it is that it was supposed to be 9/11, but they were crashing into the Brooklyn Bridge, I think, or they end up crashing into the Brooklyn Bridge. I can't remember the exact setup for it, but it's they're hinting at it being that, or at least Garth Ennis is, but I don't think they outright say that it's supposed to be 9/11.
Lord, that's fucked.
Well, there's also a scene where the Homelander eats a baby, so
What?
Yeah,
that checks out. That makes sense. But something like that, something where it's like you have a Superman figure who's just evil, like, that's terrifying.
Honestly, he doesn't give a fuck. He has no remorse or no like humanity.
Honestly, I think here's the thing, because I read Irredeemable a couple years ago, and I find that guy to be scarier than Homelander, just because like Homelander treats everything as a joke. Like there was like at that point, like in The Boys, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
he is so untouchable. In Irredeemable, like his powers come from such a weird fucking source. And like the drama of the book is like we can stop him. We just have to have the window. Then when they start to peel back layers of plutonium, I think is his name in the book.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, when they peel back layers of plutonium, he becomes way more interesting. Because is this? Like, he is a shy, not very charming, like just like not very exciting inkling of a man in his everyday life, and then when he becomes plutonium like villain, like he doesn't give a shit and he's a sociopath and he almost like a child. He's like, oh, I didn't get my way, I'll drown everyone in Japan. Whereas like and the Homelander is like, I'm so fucking powerful, I would jerk off over the city and no one's gonna stop me. And it comes from a place of bravado, and like the plutonium comes from a place of like absolute like he is so fucking weak and pathetic, like he does things just out of spite.
Yeah, yes. I don't know. That's to me like that's scarier in the way that the recent Invisible Man.
Homelander is basically
where
like,
you can have one person who knows, and like, and everybody else is just something like that. I know what you're talking about. Where like you can have somebody know that they're evil, but everybody else is just like, what are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with that person. What?
Yeah, he's fucking he's the greatest hero ever lived. He's Homelander.
And I think there's something about that that's scarier to me, where it's the thing of I don't know if there's a movie that's specifically about this, but I'm surprised it doesn't exist, where like somebody just knows that a certain cop is evil, but everybody else is like, what are you talking about? He's a cool guy. I know him.
I think when I compare the two, like Homelander also understands that he is a celebrity, so like let a plane crash but won't tell anybody about it. But like Plutonium is like, I'll crash that plane, I'll crash that plane, I'll crash that plane, I'll destroy your planes, and then I'll go to an island country and just sink it.
Well,
one's more Dark Rage.
That's scary.
The difference between the two characters, though, is that Homelander is still ostensibly controlled by a corporate entity, so he has to keep up a certain facade, while the Plutonium is
smart in a way because he's like aware. He's aware that he has to hide things.
He has to keep up appearances. But the Plutonian, I can't remember, is he doesn't care. He knows he's the most powerful thing on the planet, and he, like you said, is a sociopath, and he's just going to destroy things because he's a petulant child. So,
and that's I think the unpredictability about him makes him terrifying because like imagine living in that universe. Like I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I don't know if this idiot is gonna fly into New York City and just nuke the place.
Right. You don't know if somebody's going to declare war on North Korea. And that would be just terrifying, wouldn't it?
Trump?
I have no idea what it's like to live with a petulant child in power. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What kind of fantasy land are you living in? Jesus Christ, where's my beer?
It's not like the guy flirts with his daughter. Come on.
Oh God, yeah.
Can I mention one more thing? What was it? Have you guys seen the trailer to Lovecraft Country? It looks pretty interesting.
Yes. It looks great, and I want to read the book because like I'd heard about the book for a bit floating around, and then found out HBO picked it up. But
because it's kind of a send up of how we know Lovecraft is racist, so it's like there's this black protagonist in the South, and it's kind of like aware of what's going on.
And then they add the supernatural or whatever the unspeakable to it. It looks like it could be really good. And I mean, it's HBO. Their original programming is always.
My face after a lifetime of reading Lovecraft books, I discovered the name of his fucking cat.
Oh
man!
I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like,
it was not even subtle. It wasn't even like a subtle fucking thing. It was just like, oh.
Well, maybe
I did read that later in his life he became a little more accepting, but it was at the point where like all this bad shit had finally happened to him. He's like, all right, whatever. It's like, yeah, you had to learn so many fucking horrible lessons to not be so terrible to your fellow man.
So,
I heard something similar.
So H.P. Lovecraft was the Joe Biden. Cool. Got
it. God damn it.
Got it.
I don't think a lot of his work is an allegory for his fear of the black man, though, because sometimes some of that, like, Lou is like, the black man's coming to devour my sanity.
What?
I think he's a fucked up dude who had fucked up views of the world, and that's how he dealt with it. Not defending his over because he's a sick dude. Who was also
he's a creative writer, but it's just like he's a weird.
He's a creative madman who's also like obsessed with his mother, I believe, and like when she died, he just went off the fucking deep end. don't celebrate his life at all because he sounds like a deeply disturbed dude, but like, and I could read his fucking books all goddamn day.
I mean, the way I look at it is like he's dead. That's my perspective. He's dead. It's like they're dead. What am I gonna help? It's not like he set up a foundation.
I love hearing the other like my because he's dead jokes come from somebody else.
Well, no, this is my serious opinion though. Like, remember when people were trying to cancel Marlon Brando, a man who's been dead for like 10 years? I was like, what are you doing?
That and people try to cancel Michael Jackson. I'm like, who gives a fuck? Like, he's already dead.
Michael Jackson about Michael Jackson, and it's still in like.
Michael Jackson's slightly different. I'm like, we can maybe not play as much of his music.
We can maybe drag that guy a little bit.
Maybe we don't.
My thing is, but to your point, like, what are you really accomplishing by canceling someone who's been dead for 200 years?
Right. Yeah.
Well, my big thing with Lovecraft is that his ideas were amazing, but I think other people have taken what he's done and run with it so much better than he ever did.
Absolutely, because like the thing I have a Lovecraft like a greatest hits or something like that. It's like it's a volume. Like
that's what I call Lovecraft Volume 20.
Yes, there you go. And also the Kids Bop version.
Yes.
I gave that book to my roommate Ashley to read. Like she was like, it's cool. I can't fucking understand what the fuck he's saying. His writing is so like he just makes up words. And he's not even making up sci-fi words. He's making up regular ass words, which is a weird thing to say. Like it's also so like I'm gonna spend 7 pages telling you how bleak and foggy this fucking valley in the Miskatonic area looks. Give you nothing about this protagonist because they're a nameless void in which they will, slowly go insane.
And then 10 pages later, the story's over.
Exactly. Right. And like some stories you have to read like multiple times to figure out what the fuck. Like, I love The Outsider, but it took me 3 times to read The Outsider before I really loved it because the way he writes it, you have no sense of location, you have no sense of time or place, which is cool for sci-fi horror in general. But when I'm trying to figure out what is actually physically happening, it doesn't help me. But 100%. His foundations to literature are important. Other people have done way more with them. Stuart Gordon,
Stephen King,
yes. Miyazaki, the fucking Dark Souls director with Bloodborne. Like he took H.P. Lovecraft's work and redesigned it entirely for a fucking fantasy RPG that's set in like the Victorian area, blah de blah, and it's nuts.
Yeah, the list goes on. H.R. Giger, the publisher of the art book Necronomicon, Erik. Necronomicon.
I think his work should be is important, but we should spend 0 time celebrating the man he was. Also, like you said, he's fucking dead, and there's no more damage he can do. So
dead.
Exactly.
Yeah, he is extra dead. He's
in the mouth of Cthulhu or whatever the fuck.
His body doesn't. You couldn't exhume his body if you tried.
Right. Yeah, and just if you're looking at his stories just on their own, I don't think they're all explicitly about race or other people coming.
Some of them are.
Some of them definitely are. Dagon is something. But some of them I don't think are. Some of them it really is about like the terror of the unknown. But because
The Outsider is about him not finding a way to fit in socially whatsoever. The Outsider is him discovering that he is completely incapable of fitting in.
Right.
And you have like stories like music of Erik Zahn. You're like, what the fuck were you on about here? Man upstairs is playing a song and it's driving you insane.
With The Outsider, maybe your choice in cat names might have some bearing on why you can't fit inside.
Let's get out of here.
If you go that route, like it is him accepting that he is completely ugly on the inside. I guess is like maybe important, but again, also he did.
Right.
I think like and other stories from that book. The call of Cthulhu itself is like a bunch of fucking fishermen who come across a big slime monster and then it chases them for a bit. And they're like, well, fuck off with that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and even in the Mountains of Madness, like it's a lot of giant penguins. It's a lot of giant penguins.
Yeah,
is it really?
The Mountain of Madness kind of goes crazy after a little bit. It just sort of
in the Mountains of Madness, there's I forget some sort of crazy plant creatures. It's been probably close to 20 years since I've read this stuff. So because I just yeah.
But there's a lot of heavy mythology stuff in there, and you read it and you're like, this is way ahead of its time. This is like
I have a comic book that's like it's a bunch of different
is that the Marvel retelling? It has Richard Corbin did all the artwork for it.
It's an anthology, so it has a bunch of different stories by different artists and different writers.
Okay.
Like the genre and style of each story changes from story, and like there are insane things done with the. At one point, Cthulhu himself is the frontman of a band. The entire story takes place before they get on a plane for their tour, and it's fucking bizarre. At one point, it's a reality show called Cthulhu House. And everyone on there, it's like a Survivor or like Real World-esque show where everyone has to live with Cthulhu. Other stories are like a sequel to Dunwich Horror or a story about after the Lovecraftian-esque apocalypse. It's really cool and like. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was saying, there's a cool movie that I have not seen, but I've kind of like read about and had somebody spoil it for me. If everybody listening doesn't like want the underwater movie spoil, but like, what's her name?
Yeah.
Joe was talking about that. He said very almost explicitly come out and say that what they find is Cthulhu.
Yeah, no, the director has come out and said that.
In the water or whatever, and they realize that the creatures are falling off of something else, and they're falling off of like Cthulhu's fucking tentacles, like they're like parasites.
Yeah, and the director has gone and said that he lightly adapted. I forget which H.P. Lovecraft story, but yeah, he has gone on record saying like that was Cthulhu at the end of the movie.
And people have said that Cloverfield is like a light Lovecraftian adaptation.
Yeah.
I think that was more based around the speculation on what it was, because the viral campaign for that movie was dynamite, but the rest of the movie didn't pay off as much as the viral campaign did.
No, and I really wish the ARG for that movie had more solution to it, because like that campaign and the viral stuff is so compelling. Some of it is some of the biggest fucking dead ends I've ever come across. Like, guess if you have the DVD, there's a whole bunch of like extra shit, but this one girl goes to the party in the beginning. Resolution is that
we completely lost you there, Connor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The resolution for that story about these extras in the DVD with some girl going to the party is that she passes out on the couch, and that's it. That's the end of the story.
Cool.
Right? Like there's all that extra shit, like the Tagarado company, where the fuck it is, and like how they were poisoning the water, and like maybe they kicked this thing while it was sleeping, and like all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But then the Cloverfield paradox came out and was like, it came from over there in the universe.
Right.
Yeah. I get what they were trying to do with that, but they kind of did fail a little bit.
They retroactively made a cinematic universe out of a bunch of separate movies.
Yeah.
Well, did we want to touch on that last story?
I mean, I really just put it in here because I wanted to say this headline because it's fucking nuts. Luca Guadagnino.
What the fuck is this even?
Yeah. What? So the director of the recent Suspiria film is directing a script by the Coen brothers, which is adapting Scarface.
I don't know what the fuck. I don't understand.
American.
The guy who directed the Suspiria.
I understand that. I just don't understand why.
Oh yeah, no, because there is no reason. Because they need to make that college freshman poster money.
Well, this movie's been in production hell forever. I think I have memories back to before we even were doing this show. Hearing stories about
you mean about the Scarface remake, right? Because I've been hearing about this for like 15 fucking years.
My God.
Dude, it's been around for a while. What was the one before this? David Ayer was going to do it. fucking Antoine Fuqua was gonna do it.
I just
many people
I don't
were
care
going
about
to do it.
Scarface that much.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't care about
like,
Scarface either.
I have an idea.
We don't need another one. We don't need another
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Here's an idea. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Until I saw this headline, I didn't care. But I've seen the 2018 Suspiria, and I know what Coen Brothers movies are like. So,
all right. Here's the thing. I don't think we need a Suspiria remake, despite how good it was. I like since Scarface one, everyone knows, already a remake.
Right.
Put it alone.
But if we didn't get the Suspiria remakes, we wouldn't have been able to hear about Tilda Swinton wearing fake balls while she was filming her. Man.
I'm sorry, wearing fake what? The internet cut that word out for me.
She was wearing
Connor,
fake balls.
have you not seen the newest Suspiria?
I have not.
That film?
Okay,
you need to watch the newest Suspiria because it features Tilda Swinton in multiple roles.
Yeah. Izzo, what did you say?
So I haven't seen either, but the posters are kind of like fucking sexy as fuck. I was like, what are these leggy women doing?
Yeah, it's about a dance studio in Germany. Yeah, it's really good.
I heard it may be a.
It maybe. It's like a loose sequel. I've never actually been able to sit through the entirety of the original Suspiria for reasons.
It kind of follows the original's plot and then makes a hard left turn at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the ending is some of the craziest shit I've ever seen in a movie.
Yes,
ever. Period. Like it's up there. It's top 5 in terms of like what the fuck did I just watch?
Does it have I know the answer to this is no, but I'm going to ask anyway. Does it has a sweet synth score by Goblin where people are going nah 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 nah
nah? It's not Goblin, but the score is pretty fucking sweet. Yeah. It's pretty like they managed to do things like the voodoo doll trope kind of and like bring that back in an interesting kind of scary way.
Yeah, you get to see a girl pee herself. It's pretty great.
Nice. Yeah, you get to see a woman like contorting herself.
I have a funny story about the Suspiria theme thing.
Oh, I thought you were gonna have a funny story about a woman peeing herself.
No, I have none of those. I'm positive. Even in my drunk state, I'm positive I have a story about one of those. I was a long time ago when I was like making CDs and like DVD rips of like horror films I heard was coming or like were coming out and like making my own DVD collection. The movie coming out, I think it was retitled Samhain after a while, but just like gore flick coming out with like Jenna Jameson in it, and I guess the highlight of it was that she gets disemboweled on a table and a mutant breast implant.
Oscar Award winner Jenna Jameson.
Yes. The movie opens up with Richard Grieco of all people. A tent with some woman who gets murdered, and then he gets murdered, and the opening. And this is a movie, I guess, when I got a copy of it, a raw copy of like not the working print, but like a raw cut, like the first print was out on the internet. So I grabbed it, watched the movie, and like after the opening sequence happens, opening credits happen. This fucking Suspiria theme is over the opening credits. This bullshit ass fucking killer mutant movie. I was like,
it's an homage.
Will you get sued if you release this as it is?
Now, was this before or after Jenna Jameson's failed vaginoplasty?
What?
Yeah, she had plastic surgery done to her vagina. Apparently, it was done. Yeah, apparently it was done so poorly. That's why she dropped out of the porn industry.
Jesus.
It was like 06, 07, so I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. I heard about that a while ago. Like, huh. That shit happens, huh?
Oh, so maybe actually did that in genitals.
I don't know.
Maybe don't approach that idea ever.
Yeah, maybe not do that. Maybe don't fuck with what God has created.
Yeah.
Don't let knows what will happen. A cannibal mutant will cut you open and eat breast implant.
Exactly, right. And then Richard Grieco will show up.
Well, he showed up first.
This is all known to us.
He is promptly killed.
He was the reason why they got killed. Richard Grieco's here. I gotta murder people now.
I remember when Sci-Fi Channel would air movies with him and then hype up his name as if all the fact that you're going to watch the movie.
Here's a job. Here's a job.
I'm like, I'm not going to go watch fucking Devil Spiders because Richard Grieco's in it.
come running home from middle school. Mama, Papa, Richard Dicker movies on TV.
To bring us a Richard Dicker movie, Erik,
the cousins and aunts. We're gonna watch this.
Oh, I sat in front of Sci-Fi Channel when it was good because they would have like, hey, we're gonna show Guyver and Guyver 2 for the next 7 hours uninterrupted. Have fun.
Oh, you mean when it was the Sci-Fi Channel, Sci-Fi Channel?
It's not the Sci-Fi. It was Science Fiction Channel. It had sweet ass fucking commercials, and they would air horror movies on just endless blocks. Yeah. Oh, that's AMC's job.
Yeah. Or have Ralph Bakshi kind of vaguely racistly call anime Japanimation.
Damn.
What? Wait,
yeah, dude.
God damn it.
Was this was in the 90s, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I remember that because they had the Saturday anime. It was that was the name of it was called afterwards.
After the fact.
Yeah. First they were calling it Saturday Japanimation.
Yep.
And every Saturday, like that's where I discovered Tenchi Muyo, because the Tenchi Muyo movie aired on there. Couple like Ninja Scroll I remember watching on there. But also every Saturday for a long time you could watch Mystery Science Theater on Sci-Fi Channel for like 3 hours. It was the fucking best.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
I had lots of VHSs with that shit on there. But we can probably close now.
yeah, it's 12:40. Yeah, at least East Coast time.
All right.
I'm not doing my 6-pack though, but I'm about to.
I only had 2 Coronas. I'm good.
I had 5 Strongbows.
Damn, man.
Fucking hard cider. I could put this away all goddamn day.
Yeah, hard cider.
But then tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
And tomorrow,
mouse pilots him.
But then tomorrow I will just shit liquid for 7 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Too many of these.
It's me with milk.
It's still apple cider. Yeah.
It's apple.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
It's just it's what is it like? Percentage here. 5%, something like that.
It's not that strong.
It's 5% alcohol, but then like there's a bunch of sugar and like apples and like by the next morning you're like, oh dear God, what is happening down there?
Yeah.
I think I had on my 30th birthday, because I wasn't paying for my booze. That was the last time I did any real hard drinking 3 years ago. I had over the course of one evening 13 of these fucking things.
Oh God.
And I couldn't even lift my head by the time we left because, like, every time I opened my eyes, my body was like, "It's Puke City." Was just dry heaving into a trash can. Like, I couldn't even get something out of my stomach to puke. I just dry heaved. I was so upset.
Real quick, drunk story for me. I think I was like 32 or 33. My friend Tim had gotten me Jack Daniels along with some other stuff for my birthday. I proceeded to drink the entire bottle that evening, go to a frat party that his brother was at, and was sitting out on the back porch because I was so hammered I couldn't move. Heard some guy saying like, "Yeah, dude, I had like 3 of this type of drink," and in my drunken haze, I'm just like, "You're a fucking pussy," and then proceed to hear later that this guy went back inside. He's like, "The guy on the chair outside called me a pussy. What do I do? Do I beat him up? He drank a whole bottle of Jack Daniels."
He's crazy right now. I put away an entire bottle of Bailey's at a New Year's party once.
Bailey's I can fucking down like nothing. It's not that strong.
But when you drink before that, and then you're so shit hammered, you can't even like collapse on the floor and sleep. I woke up to a couple having sex 3 feet away from me. I was really upset.
So technically, you're cuckolded.
Huh? Yeah, exactly. You should have licked a finger and stuck it in a hole.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Get some of that action.
Well, yeah, exactly. Make it into a threesome.
I have a funny drunk story. Some years ago, I think I was talking to a bunch of friends on like video chat, on my computer, and it was like they were talking about a Scott Pilgrim movie, and I haven't seen that yet. So the first time I tried to watch that movie, I've watched it in full since, but the first time I tried to watch the movie, I couldn't finish it because I was drunk as fuck, and I started throwing up. I was like, hey, maybe I shouldn't watch this psychedelic ass movie while I'm drunk.
Yeah, probably not the best idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I've told my story about throwing up into a shoe on here before. I'm pretty sure. So.
That's a lot of passage.
Yeah, you're a reverse Werner Herzog. Do we want to close out?
Yeah.
We just recorded Meteor Man for Dumpster Movie.
Dumpster.
that movie is shockingly funny.
It is funny.
And kind of holds up. I had never seen it before. A recent viewing. I kind of loved it, and it also has alarming similarities to DC's Lightning TV show. In that the protagonist is named Jefferson Reed as opposed to Jefferson Pierce, and he is a school teacher who defends his neighborhood from a local gang, as opposed to a school principal who defends his neighborhood from a local gang.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Pretty funny. Joe even made it a point. He's like, "This was pretty much the first black superhero movie, and nobody talks about it."
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I did enjoy it. It was a little.
It has some really, really good gimmicks and really good jokes. Like he can absorb knowledge from a book by touching it. And towards the climactic battle sequence, him and the villain both get powered up and both touch a book about walking the runway, and then proceed to engage in a feminine slap fight. For 35 seconds.
Now, was this movie before or after Blank Man? I can't remember.
Before Blank Man, because we looked up that it's before Blank Man. Nobody talks about Blank Man anymore either.
Yeah, I've seen a few people mention it recently, but like it's a joke.
There's a fantastic bit in Meteor Man where his mom is making his fucking super suits. At some point, he walks out with 2 Polaroids strapped to his shoulder pauldrons. Like, he's like, "I'm Meteor Man. You don't think I have evidence?" Snaps. And, like, both cameras go off and fire pictures out. He's like, "Guess again."
It's pretty funny.
Christ.
Robert Townsend is pretty funny. Dude.
James Earl Jones is in it as a man who collects records and has a series of wigs that he changes in every scene. The villainous gang has, like, parties. They're called the Golden Party, and everyone has bleach blonde hair. Again, another fucking weird Black Lightning connection. I'm like, they look like Tobias Whale disciples. But there's like they have like one section who dresses like the Moonrunners from the Warriors, who are all like 9-year-old kids who all have bleach blonde hair, and then a second section of children with bleach blonde hair who all do a different thing. It's really wacky, and I fucking loved it. We're recording the Willies tomorrow, and we recorded an interview with Michael Ray Bauer, who was Donkey Lips on Sleep Your Shorts, and he's in the Willies. That was 4 hours. I'm sure it won't be released as such, but that man told us so many fucking stories about his career. I couldn't possibly hope to summarize half of what we talked about. Afterwards, he went on social media and he basically talked us up a whole lot and what a pleasant experience it was. So
that's pretty cool.
It worked out for us. So now I can say in honesty that I am friends with Donkey Lips.
Which one was Donkey Lips in the show?
He was the big guy.
The big kid.
Yeah. They kind of made fun of him.
Yes. So yeah, that's a life experience that I'll just talk about to the day I die.
Next Werner Herzog.
We'll get there. I first of all, I feel like I wouldn't interview Werner Herzog.
Conor McGraw, I see your post about your pet mouse. It's very adorable.
It's very good of you, small creature. I feel like it would just be me listening to him telling me how insignificant it is for 90 minutes.
I would want to hear him talk about like things that you wouldn't expect. So I'm like, hey, what's your opinion on that music?
I want to hear him talk endlessly about how he called the people who work on Star Wars cowards.
Yeah.
I'll just listen to him talk about why he likes a particular type of peanut butter over another.
Yeah. Really mundane shit. I want to hear him talk about.
You see, Jiffy is so much better than the other peanut butters.
I was disappointed as a child that the Peter Pan did not have a heart inside of it when I opened it.
What's your favorite pizza topping? I do not like anchovies.
And ever since then, I have not been able to bring myself to watch any adaptation of that story.
Pizza is an invention of the bourgeoisie to hold down the proletariat.
He's like, I do enjoy a good New York pizza, but Chicago pizza is too soupy in this.
God damn.
Arlen, you got some plugs?
Lost Horror Podcast, James Bond miniseries. The next episode that's in the bank should be coming out tomorrow, I think. Not sure about that. So yeah, I look forward to that episode, or maybe it's a week off. I will check my schedules. So yeah, look forward to that and people on the show being guests in the future. So yeah, that's coming. I think that's all I got.
Nice.
Okay. I'm Erik Fedorchak. You can find me at Erik_Fedor. There's pictures of cats and dogs and food and comics. Also, Flip Phantom Zone, just thing. Yeah, just continue to be vigilant, people. Like this shit is not over as a lot of elected officials would like you to believe, because they happen to want Trump come them when they can claim that their state is clear, like what happened in PA, because we had various levels of red, yellow, and green, or what were county I'm in is in yellow, if I remember. No, it's in red. And strangely, the county Berks, I believe it is, where Allentown is, was fighting against the governor's orders to stay in red. And lo and behold, the reason why they were doing that is because, oh, look, Trump is coming to visit manufacturing.
Fucking God.
Yep. So, don't believe the hype, is what I'm saying.
Just be careful, people. And just look. No, it's tough. Stay the fuck home. Yeah,
it sucks. Like, I work, and I'm going into work on a regular schedule, and I work at a hospital, so it's getting busy again. And if I had the choice, I would in, but I got to like it.
But at least if more people stay home, they can ease it for people that work in the medical field.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes things somewhat easier. But honestly, at this point, they're ramping up the elective surgeries again, because our hospital has some deep connections with the Republican constituents. So, anyways, that's me.
Yuck.
Izzy, you got any plugs or anything?
I don't have anything to plug because I never finish anything I write because I have that weird writer's issue. But anyways, I mean, follow me on Twitter because I want to be Twitter famous somehow, even though I don't tweet that much, but maybe I will. But the Izza, like the_IZA on Twitter.
Well, it's the elusiveness of your tweets is what will make you famous. You leave them clamoring for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun accomplishment if you just be Twitter famous for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Make it happen, people. All 4 of you who are listening.
Yeah. At least 12.
And of course, don't follow Hunter Davenport anywhere.
But
follow him everywhere. Actually, make his credentials and sign him up for other social media platforms. Make a Tumblr page for him. Make a TikTok account for him. Claim to be him. I don't care.
Request money from him on Facebook. Request money from him on different platforms.
Make a cameo for him. Create multiple Twitter accounts. What else is there? Is Vine's dead? What is that fucking thing? Is Tout still a thing? Can you make him a Tout account?
Oh God, what?
Go on Redbubble and steal his merch. He doesn't have merch, but make up merch and then steal it. Then
set up an account for him on Grindr.
Steal those plants around his house. I'm kidding.
set up like 10 different Tinder accounts and have none of the profiles match.
Yes. But have like 4 of the details exactly the same.
Yeah, make it a small mystery for those who slowly come across the 10 profiles.
Paint his mailbox a different color. Is that illegal?
And in the bio say, "I have 2 brains, but not the second brain that you're thinking of."
Make a MySpace page for him. I don't know if you can still do that, but please do it. And also create a live journal where you live journal as Hunter Davenport. Please do it.
Yes.
I'm not saying go do crime, but if somebody would legally change his name, that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Run a red light and say your name is Hunter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or run a red light and claim that you ran it because the government's trying to impose their bureaucracy
over you. Now,
you ran a red light because.
I was gonna say, if in the future, if he ever has kids and his kids listen to this, if you're listening, the kids of Hunter Davenport. Just troll your dad. Like, you do really mean
a lot.
And then when you run the red light, tell the officer you saw a large, long-legged entity in your rearview mirror, and you felt the need to drive fast, or Siren Head will come get you.
It was screaming about Beastars. Anyways, good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.